Okay. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started, but in just a second. And I was amiss last month. I would like to publicly thank at the beginning of this meeting my co-hosts Ed and Marcus. I always talk to them about them at the end. They deserve kudos. We have been doing this virtual meeting for a year. So my heartfelt thanks to Ed and Marcus, because I could not do this meeting without you guys. So yay, Ed and Marcus. All right, let's begin. All right, Alex Lopez, go ahead and do the roll call.
All right, doing commissioner roll call. Commissioner for 6001.
Present.
6002, present. 6003.
Present.
6004.
Here.
6005. 6006.
Present.
6007.
Kevin's here. He just muted.
All right,
Present.
we have 7 out of 7 commissioners. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alex. Okay, so I'm going to show the agenda here. 1 second. Okay, so we have removed the maglev agenda item because we're going to have a special meeting about the letter that we're going to write about the environmental study. We have removed the 7th and P development, and we have removed 1618 8th Street. It's a liquor license. And then we've added the Wiltberger honorary designation, the Shea Lily public space, and the Vision Zero support. Okay, commissioners, does that sound good? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I second.
Okay, Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna have the police. Okay, so do I have Captain Duro on the phone? We're gonna do 1D first. Oh, there you are. Captain Duro, go ahead. The
Can you
floor
hear
is
me?
yours.
Thank you. So we're looking fairly good in the 1D area of 6E. We are down 1 violent crime over the prior 30-day period. Year to date, we're down 5 violent crimes. And then in property crimes, we are down 5 over the last 30 days and up only 3, so about flat on the year. That's out of 100, so a flat on property crimes. So really stolen autos, theft from autos, thefts, we're looking pretty even to what we were last year. Of course, what we're keeping an eye on is that as we come out of this COVID lockdown period that we are, and going into the summer at the same time, we are nervous about the numbers going up just because of more activity, but right now we're still running flat. We had 2 violent crimes. One was a robbery that occurred inside the Tyler house. We had one last month as well. So that's, 1 a month is not, crazy, but it's something I'm keeping my eye on. And this is young people that go into the Tyler house, which is 1200 North Capitol Street, large apartment building, meet someone and then are robbed by other, young youth in the building. And then we had a ADW gun, which was a brandishing incident, a road rage incident, which happened in the unit block of M. Mary Street Northwest, which again, it was just a minor traffic accident, and then a gun was pointed. So luckily no one was hurt though, gun wasn't fired. Some of you may have heard about an incident that occurred the same day on May 2nd in the 1100 block of First Place, where there was a shooting and someone did lose their life. So we initially believed that to be a homicide. We had video of it. We had an officer, we have an officer right there most of the time at First and M. So what happened was that one subject approached another. They got into a physical altercation. One of them produced a gun. They started wrestling out over the gun, and actually the subject that had produced the gun ended up getting shot once and died. Our officers were there immediately. They secured the gun. They secured the other party. That person was detained for a while we investigated, but ultimately, because we did have the video, we were able to determine that he was the initial victim that was approached by the suspect with a gun. And then while they were struggling, that suspect was shot and killed. So unfortunate incident regardless, but it will not count. It is a justified homicide, but it won't count as a murder for us. I think that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions for the captain? Patrick?
Hey, sorry, I was muted there. Hey, Captain Duro. I've got two, and if you could, I'll ask you one, then we can come back to me in just a second for a follow-on. So I've gotten increased a couple of constituent emails about the Patricia Handy Women's Shelter. That's not in ANC 60. It's just across the street, across on the other side of Massachusetts in Ward 2. But there are a few parishioners from a local church who are residents of mine. And it seems like evidently this was a women's shelter who was closed, that was closed to be renovated. But now it appears that it has become a men's shelter. And a few people have written to me expressing concerns, and there's been some concerns about increased sort of activity, security related activity. I think I may have seen you on one of the threads that was forwarded over to me. So if you could just speak to that situation generally from the vantage point, from your vantage point, please.
What are you talking
Captain? Where'd he go? Oh, hold on. No, where'd Captain Duro go?
He's muted.
Where is he? That's Captain Augustine.
There you go. So yeah, I'm very familiar with that issue. It's an ANC 2C, so it's something we've discussed numerous times in that meeting. Yeah, it's just there's a lot more activity there because it transitioned from a women's shelter to a men's shelter during COVID. The residents preferred the female clientele. I'm not sure, maybe they were less active, but even before that, when the women's shelter was there, we did have some activity in that area with the homeless. And the conversation there and in Chinatown has been a lot of this activity is not criminal. A lot of the stuff that is criminal is very kind of low level quality of life stuff that really, we feel that we don't have the mandate to enforce really strictly and kind of zero tolerance anymore, So we're really working with the other city agencies to provide services. And, you're talking about stuff like panhandling, urinating in public, and you're talking about stuff like lack of public restroom facilities, and there's a lot of issues there, but a lot of it's not problems I think we're going to fix by throwing handcuffs on folks, So I know it's being discussed within like DBH and the providers. I don't know what the plan is right now. I think it's just to keep it going while the COVID pandemic persists. I will say what we have committed to and what we've done a lot of work on in Chinatown is addressing the narcotics activity, because that is something that's, very much we feel like is our wheelhouse, is to make sure that there's not specifically narcotic sales going on. So we've made a lot of good arrests. The problem there, and what we've again discussed a lot in ANC 2C, is that there's not a whole lot of interest in prosecuting these cases by the U.S. Attorney's Office. So there's really, even when we have really good evidence, we have officers that witnessed it, video, everyone stopped, everything recovered, these cases are not going forward. And that's just, yeah. So there's a lot of issues there, yeah, we have a part to play in it, but I think really our thing is that there's a lot of other agencies that have a part to play as well and kind of fixing that problem. And we're not going to rest our way out of it. So that's where we're at with that. I saw the emails as well. I haven't been in the office this week really. So we'll keep working on it. I'll keep working on it with them.
Great. No, I appreciate that perspective, because, folks will email in, but it's good to get your take on it as well, because you probably encounter it from a different angle. The other question I had, and someone had emailed me a few times about this, was, and I'm sure you know about it, occasionally there will be like groups of either motorcycles or ATVs, and they sort of run down the street, and people are concerned with noise. So just in general, if you could speak to, just so it's a priority for folks, and speak to any kind of mitigations you guys have in mind for that sort of thing. I think he's muted again, Rochelle.
Oh, where'd he go? Don't unmute yourself. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's been a problem for years and years, going back to when I was a sergeant in the 5th district, we dealt with it. And our position, we have a no chase policy unless it's a life and death situation. So we will not pursue those illegal vehicles. They are illegal. ATVs, all-terrain vehicles are illegal to operate on public space in DC. They can't be registered. So they are unregistered illegal vehicles. Being said, it's extremely hard and dangerous to stop them in the act. Every now and then we'll get lucky, we'll break down, or we'll stop one at a gas station, but those are exceedingly rare circumstances. What we've tried to do over the years with, I will say it has not been super successful in my opinion, is to approach it from an intelligence led perspective and trying to get them on camera, trying to videotape them, identify them. If you go on our website, you can probably still find hundreds and hundreds of pages of these guys on their ATVs, and where we've asked the public to identify them so we can follow up with warrants. But that goes back to my prior point that, I mean, those are charges that are prosecuted by the Office of the Attorney General versus the U.S. Attorney's Office. So it might be a little different situation, but in general, getting warrants and going forward with prosecution for minor offenses right now is pretty difficult for us. So that's where we're at with it. Look, it's one of my pet peeves as well. Like I wish we could find a good, solid, safe solution to dealing with it. But if you have any ideas, let me know. But that's been our approach over the last, decade that we've been dealing with it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Denise?
Yes, hi, Captain DeBro. My concern is with the 1100 block of First Place. I noticed that the officers are not sitting at the top of First Place in M Street as much as they used to. I don't really see them out there a lot, and for long periods of time, they're not right at the top of the street. As you just stated, Paul had an incident when he was killed, Paul Dern, the young man I watched grow up here in this neighborhood, whatever the altercation was. And, I know you did your investigation, but my concern is that we have millions of guys hang on this street. We have millions of cars come onto this street. This one did and block a street since Sursum is gone. All the other areas are kind of closed down here. So it's between here and Tyler House where most of the people will hang, and sometimes at the turnkey Sursum on K Street. And I know the officers, it's only 2 units that are with 1 officer in each cruiser, and they have to patrol, the entire single member district here. And my concern is with the summer days coming, the warmer days coming, and, the people pulling up and hanging out on the street, and the cars be double parked all the way up the street. It took me one day 15 minutes to get in the street, to get in front of my house. To be able to park. And then by it being a dead end street, it's kind of hard to be able to turn around and actually park. But with so many guys being on the block, and then the street is pitch dark at like around 8 p.m. when you look down at the bottom of the street, you wouldn't really know what you're walking into. If I didn't live here, I would be scared to come down the street.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk first about the resources that we have there. We do still have the 2 units. So, if they haven't, we encourage them to patrol around, not just to sit parked and stationary the whole time. So hopefully they've been doing that. We do still have the 2, and at one point we had 3 right there because we had one down at the turnkey as well. And believe it or not, that's a lot of resources to have like in a 1 block area, pretty much in a 2 block area. For my entire rest of PSA 102, which runs all the way down the length of the National Mall, I might only have 1 or 2 other officers in that entire PSA. So I'm putting, 66, 70% of my manpower into that 1-2 block area. So it is a significant, and we've been doing that for years now. So it is a significant resources that we have committed to that. And honestly, I would like to get away from the point where we have to have an officer sitting there or in that block at all times. And I really think that's what we need to be thinking about. Like, what do we need to do to get past the point where there has to be an officer sitting there all the time? Because, that's not something we have on every block in the entire city, obviously. And it shouldn't be necessary, really. we do it because there are issues there and there has been violent crime, even with the shooting that we just saw. So thankfully we did have an officer right there that was able to stop the guy and get the gun and whatnot. But I mean, maybe that's a conversation we can have, Ms. Blackson. Like, what is it about those few blocks that constantly draws that crowd that, you know, repeatedly sees violent crime occur? So, and if we need to get other agencies involved again, I think that's kind of the direction we're headed. Because as you know, our manpower is kind of, you know, slowly trickling away. We haven't hired anyone in about a year now. So, you know, just throwing manpower at stuff is not going to be a solution for us. We do it when necessary. I should say it's not going to be a long-term solution for us. It's something that we should be able to do in the short term to address specific problems. But if there's long-term issues like that, you know, I think we need to be looking deeper. That being said, we still have the 2 units there. We're going to continue that for the foreseeable future. I have no plans to change that right now.
Okay, so I've lived here since 1996,
Yeah.
and I know why officers are patrolled at the top of the block. You know, we've had a teenage girl killed and people shot up in houses. You know, all things have happened in this Sursum Quarter area, even where the district attorneys were shot at a long time ago. And that's when them officers came full force, when an officer was shot at, and they start patrolling this area a little more and more in depth. And that's why they said that the cars will never leave this area, you know, such long time ago. I've been a community leader here before I was a commissioner a very long time. You know, you've met with me in
Yeah.
DC Housing Authority, the pastor, the mayor's office, council member's office, and I shared this concern prior to Sursum Quarter coming down. This was the only block that's left that people are familiar with in every area in the city of DC. Certain people come back to what they know, where they grew up, whether the property get tore down or not. This is where they're comfortable at. So this is the group of people, you know, that they come and sit around and hang on the block, and they'll hang on this block and party on the block, but none of the people live here. So I definitely understand that this is a bigger concern, and we need other agencies involved, you know, and I've tried to bring other agencies here to this single block to try to help with that. I've brought jobs and different resources here to try to assist the people that's standing out there. But I just noticed that, you know, I know MPD have other areas that they have to patrol. I mean, you know, in the single member district, other parts of this 1 block radius, as you're sharing, they have to patrol. And I know the officers did get here pretty quickly. By the time I got out the door, they were already there with the young man shot on the ground. But just was concerned about the block being so busy and the weather breaking and more people are coming.
I am as well. And I think we're on the same page. I think we would like to get past the point where, you know, it's expected, that where the violent crime is expected in that block. You know, I think that's where we want to get to. So, but as you know, it's become much harder for us. I mean, myself, if I go into that block and start talking to people, they just curse me out up and down. You know, it's not a positive interaction, regardless of how I approach it. So it's very confrontational. It's very, so, but we should definitely, I know we've talked about doing a community walk, and we should be doing that stuff, and we'll do that as we get into the summer.
I've invited Commander Kane out as well. I'm like, just come talk to the residents, because they've had, you know, rough encounters with the gun squad and people jumping out. I experienced a rough encounter myself, so I can understand when constituents tell me this is their interaction, and I done nothing was nice to them, and I had a very bad experience with them as an ANC commissioner sworn in. So I have other constituents that tell me these concerns. So it's a big concern for me of police interaction. You know, we have to find some kind of leverage where we all are respecting each other. You know, people should respect the officers, and you have a rough job to do, you know, and you all have to respect the citizens as well. So I do want to find some type of way that we can have some leverage with each other and come. And that's why I always invite you all in the neighborhood and to community events when I have them. And I appreciate your support of having your staff to come out. But we can talk offline. Maybe we can find something we can do together and try to resolve some of these issues.
I will say the guns are a huge concern for us. And you mentioned the gun squad. They've pulled a lot of guns out of that block, you know, and really kind of what I would like to see is that possessing guns is just found to be unacceptable by the community there. And right now, I don't get that sense because there's just a lot of guns in that block. Always,
I'm not
every
sure
time.
what you want the community residents to do. You want them to get shot? They're gonna say
No,
something to
no, no,
somebody else
no,
with a
no,
gun? Yeah,
no.
because it's not,
Just
the people don't live here that's here. The
Yeah.
people don't live there. So people have kids and they address to me, my children can't come outside and play, or my grandkids can't come outside and play, things like that. It's not much they can do. They're going to tell me, but they're not going to tell the police, because certain people feel safe doing certain things. Like, I'll walk to a police car and talk to an officer, but they're not comfortable with that. They don't want someone to say they're hot, they're snitching, or whatever those stereotypes are. So different people, communicate different ways. And that's what I'm here for, to help them and be the liaison between the constituents and the police department. I'm comfortable with talking to an officer if they walk down the street. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay,
thank you, Ms. Blackson.
Captain and Commissioner Blackson. So let's, any other commissioners have any questions for Captain Duro? No? Okay, I'm going to open up to the community. This is for Captain Duro. This is 1D. This is the area south of New York Avenue. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Any questions for Captain Duro of 1D? No questions. Going once, going twice. Okay, Captain. Thank you for zooming in always. Thank you. And then we have Captain Augustine. This is 3D. I'm going to unmute you. Nope. Wait. One more time. There you go.
Good
Okay,
evening,
Captain.
everyone. Good evening. How are you? Thanks for having me. Just go through real quick. I just wanted, before it's lost thought, the ATVs that came up, just real quick. Something that I would sit there and ask us to explore is, right now, obviously, I don't think there's any good use to have ATVs in the District of Columbia. They're illegal to operate on the road, but there is no legislation currently that makes the mere possession of an ATV illegal. And I think that might be something that needs to be explored. It may allow the police to go, or whatever entity that the community feels would have that ability or should have that ability, to really confiscate those illegal bikes before they sit there and start it up and operate it in the reckless manner that they constantly are throughout the District of Columbia. But with the crime, we'll go to that. We did have a homicide April 18th in 1600 block 7th Street. That was closed with an arrest. We had two folks that were involved in a dispute inside that location, and the victim was shot by our suspect. The suspect was arrested the next day, and the gun was recovered. We did have an ADW glass bottle that occurred on April 29th. That was after somebody asked somebody else for some money, and once they refused to do that, the person that asked for the money decided to hit the person with the bottle. We had an ADW car right by the traffic branch at 500 block of L Street. That started as a road rage incident between a biker and a motor vehicle that resulted in the motor vehicle ended up striking the bicyclist after some time of going through a few blocks. Fortunately, the bicyclist wasn't seriously injured. We had another ADW gun brandish. That was at 1300 block of 7th Street. That was a dispute where somebody ordered a ride share. Once they got in the ride share, they refused to put on a mask. There was a dispute between the driver and that person refusing to put on a mask, and that person threatened to kill the driver and brandished a handgun. That person was also arrested. It was either the next day or 2 days after that. We were not able to recover the gun in that case yet. We have an ADW gun, another brandishing act in a 1500 block of 10th Street Northwest. That was DV related. That was a dispute between two significant others that led to the male partner threatening the female partner with a gun. That person has been arrested. That gun was not recovered. And then we had an ADW assault with a dangerous weapon, a corkscrew. This happened between a dispute between known parties. During that verbal altercation, they split apart and then later agreed to meet in the back parking lot where they got into a fist fight. And then after the fist fight, our suspect introduced the corkscrew and cut the complaint with the corkscrew, and that person has since been arrested. So yes, quite a few violent crimes, but a lot of them have actually been closed by arrest, which we appreciate. And a lot of that's through, not only just the officers' hard work, detectives' hard work, but some of this all has to do with also the local community in these neighborhoods providing us with information, video from the camera rebate program. So we do appreciate that. One little thing that we did have on April 23rd to the 24th, we had 6 airbags stolen from vehicles down in the lower end of the 60 ANC 60 community, around 1300 block 7, 1300 block 8, 700 block P. This was in connection with the 4th district, and actually the 3rd district, almost in a straight line up through the 4th district out to Maryland. There's almost, if you look at the map where it happened, almost a straight line out of the city. This is something that we don't see very often. I think last summer, if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner, we had a similar incident to that. It kind of will happen in one big spot and then it just goes away. We've kind of looked at different preventions, obviously, patrolling and just as we do for theft from autos, we have that, but as prevention for the community, the only thing we've really found to be able to prevent the theft of the airbags is buying one of those old school clubs and putting that over your steering wheel. And just keep that in mind, especially with the vehicles they've been targeting. It hasn't just been random vehicles. They've been targeting a lot of Honda-made vehicles, Civics, Accords, Fits, Pilots, any type of Honda product. I guess that's the easy airbag to get to, and that's what they've been taking. We did have 3 gun recoveries. One was from the homicide that I said previously stated. We also had a gun recovery in the 400 block of P Street on April 24th. That was after a vehicle that we think was actually in Captain Duro's area earlier in the day that fled from 1st District officers. While our midnight patrol was out patrolling the area, they found a very similar vehicle and was able to do some investigation, and a handgun was recovered from that vehicle, and that person was arrested. We are seeing an uptick, as activity arises, and Captain Duro kind of alluded to it. It's not a big surprise. It's unfortunate. But as more stuff starts to open up, we are starting to see our theft from autos to increase. So obviously, as we're starting to get our officers making sure that they're out there patrolling those areas, trying to sit there and target where our hot spots are, which are generally right around that U Street corridor, Florida Avenue, where a lot of the nightlife is, getting them out there, dusting off those, we're asking the neighborhoods just kind of dust off those good habits that we've always had as we're out and about and going out and stuff, making sure we're taking our valuables out, because people are back out on the prowl looking for these items. And with that being said, I sit there and if anybody has any questions, be glad to answer them.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Captain Duro?
Augustine,
I'm sorry.
I'm the better looking one.
Captain, something transpired, you might have mentioned it, but something transpired last week on O Street. At the time, when I spoke to one of the officers, nothing seemed to have taken place at the time, but it was about 8 or 9 police cars, about 20 bikes, police bikes, just a great police presence. Wasn't mad about it. I'm just curious what was going on.
Yeah, that was last Wednesday. There was a unexpected block party in 600 block, unpermitted block party.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of challenges in that neighborhood. And when lots of partying, alcohol comes to fruition, gambling comes to fruition, then we have some issues by the end of the night.
Okay.
We tried to sit there. They brought in food trucks. They brought in a DJ.
Wow.
What we did, we tried to sit there and be as respectful as possible. We try to sit there and lay down kind of the ground rules of what, to keep the peace, let people, we understood, they wanted to get together. People haven't been able to do that. But they also didn't have a permit to sit there and have a big celebration in the middle of the street. They didn't have a permit to have alcohol containers and drinking in public. I'm sure if we looked into the vending trucks, they weren't permitted to be there. So a lot of issues. So instead of just taking the no tolerance approach, we tried to be respectful for that. They were grilling out in public. We asked them to move that to private property, which they did. Fortunately, since the State of the Union was going on, we were able to sit there and take resources. Some of our 3rd district officers who were detailed to the State of the Union for their civil disturbance units, we bring them back into the district and kind of help mitigate some of the situations we had with the party. From all the people out there, it probably went from about 2 in the afternoon, and I'm sure it didn't end until about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Some of the pictures I have from the aftermath kind of really irked me, just because all the trash, the beer bottles and everything were just left out in the street that weren't picked up.
Right.
I am aware that we did make one arrest, and that was when that one person who did have an open container went up to one of the lieutenants on the scene and was basically not being very was kind of flaunting that they could basically do whatever they want with drinking in public right in front of the police. So that person was arrested without incident. But yes, there was a lot of drinking in public and everything. And I would sit there and say, you know, how much we didn't want that to happen. I think it was successful with not having anybody seriously hurt, with not causing a big uprising and adversarial relationship between the community and the police. So it may not have, you know, looked great and been, you know, we had a lot of resources due there, but I think we tried our best to sit there and mitigate the situation and have a safe outcome.
Well, I appreciate the update. I was really curious because it was an army of police officers out there, and I was really curious at what was taking place. So I appreciate your presence.
Any other questions, commissioners, for Captain Augustine?
Yeah, I would just like to follow up a little bit on that incident on Wednesday night, the 28th of April. Some of my constituents are in the city market at O across 7th Street from there, and were woken up at 3 in the morning by massively loud sirens that went off nonstop for a long amount of time. Like, clearly people, you know, have invested in the community and are living in the community and are trying to have lives in the community that are being disrupted by illegal behavior. And I'm just, I'd like to get a sense if there's some resolution coming at some point. And I know, you know, we're in a new era where the police are trying to maintain relationships and trying to maintain good relationships with everyone. But we're also going to run the risk possibly of losing our tax base eventually if people just don't want to put up with the shenanigans that are happening in our city, whether it's ATVs or, you know, 3 a.m. block parties that are being disrupted by police officers, you know, on school nights. So at some point we need to think broader about solutions that, and clearly the police are only one partner in a broader solution that may create spaces where these activities and events can occur in ways that they reduce disruption to neighbors in places where maybe there's less likelihood for other illegal activity or for shootings to occur. I mean, clearly, like, we're in a new era, and we need to talk about partnerships to find ways to reduce the disruption to people who are, you know, trying to just go to bed at a reasonable hour on a Wednesday night. So I just want to kind of put that out there, and if you want to come back next week or next month with, you know, what work that you've done to reach out to other partners to create new ideas for how to solve these, I would be welcome to hear that. I'm not expecting you to answer any of those at this point.
I think you'll get the same answer now that I'll give next month. And I said, and that's, you know, we need your help. All right, Commissioner. We sat there, and that day we did reach out to other resources. You know, I think we need to start putting the pressure on some of these other agencies to sit there, and just as much as you mandate from me right now to come up with answers, we need to start mandating from everybody to come up with answers. The Metropolitan Police Department is always there. You call 911, we come. All right. That day, you know, takeaway of just going hands-on with people and creating a very dangerous environment from everybody. We had to be patient. We were the only resource out there trying to sit there and get people to leave. We trying to sit there and come up with different solutions that day to get up to 150 people to leave a block. All right. So we not only could sit there and police all the other neighborhoods that deserve the police that they want, all right? But also try not to use unnecessary force for drinking in public, for people trying to have a good time. So, I mean, that's the challenge. I mean, I'm all about the challenge, but it's not just me coming with a whole bunch of ideas if that's what I think we need to do. I think that's what we're all have been tasked to do with the jobs that we carry. And I'm more than happy to be with the meeting if you want to get all the agencies together. There's a group right now that when we have a block party, they get texted, all right? The Mokers, Violence Interrupters, I can get you a whole list of all the agencies that are on that. That's who we need to step up, all right? And we need to come to these parties. You know, it doesn't matter what time of day. Unfortunately, you know, when it happens at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 a.m., who's coming out there? You know, the police are going to be out there, but what other agencies are going to come out there? Is the ANC going to come out there and say, hey, folks, I'm the ANC of this neighborhood. I need your help. I have other constituents here that are trying to sleep, that are trying to have this going on or having going then. I ask you on behalf of the neighborhood to sit there and pack it up and go home. That's what we need.
Appreciate your feedback on that. So, and then one other comment that I have is in regard to a gun arrest that occurred at the 600 block of 12 Q Street. I didn't hear it on your list, but you may have said it and I just missed it. But my concern is that it was only due to some creative accidents, some happy accidents, that we were able to identify that the owner of that gun was actually dwelling in the encampment alongside of the Seton Elementary School on 10th Street Northwest. And because of that linkage from the gun being had at the encampment, is how we were able to raise concern about the safety for the students and eventually motivate the mayor's office to move those those encampment residents into hotels and to provide a safe place for the students. So what I'm curious about communication when a gun is linked back to an encampment, and whether there's any duty or otherwise sort of responsibility of the police to notify neighbors or to notify the school. Like how can we make sure that the next time this happens, it's not a happy accident that we find out and connect the dots and end up with a better solution?
So a couple of things. So I will sit there and say the amount of notifications that Captain Mack made after that incident were enormous. That's what actually prompted a lot of the activity from the mayor's office and the activity that happened to that claimant directly after. That was also, I'll even give her a lot of credit for notifying the U.S. Attorney's Office of the seriousness of this case and the concerns that we had. That also led to getting a search warrant of the actual tent that the crime occurred in. So I think there was a lot of notifications. As always, if you're signed up to our blogs, the arrests and the crimes are put out there every day. So I think there's a lot of communication that goes into exactly notifying everybody that needs to be involved in that. If there's something specific that you'd like to be notified on, I can let her know, and she can sit there and get you that information.
I just know that I have neighbors who were gobstrucked that they learned on a Friday that you knew 5 days earlier that that gun had been in the tent by the school.
And I think I know the neighbor that you're speaking of, and she was also given a lot of the different criteria of how to find out about the information that we have. Unfortunately, how much I'd love to sit there and personally email everybody, I think that's an unfair expectation from the police department. So that's why we ask everybody to sign up for the blogs so they can kind of keep track of what's going on. This one may have been a little bit cooler just because the incident actually took place on 10th Street, which would have gone out and is that the actual crimes blog. And then the arrest would have, as you pointed out, the arrest was in 600 block of Q Street is where we found the suspect. So on the arrest part, it would have been in Q Street, but at least if they were signed up with that blog, they would have saw that 10th Street crime, and that could have been able to sit there and follow up with Captain Mack or somebody else or myself about getting more information.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the commissioners before I open up to the public for Captain Augustine? No? Okay. So I see you, John Shaw. Gonna mute you.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that the what do you call it? The dice game has returned to 7th and T, and it was subsequent to that dice game a couple of years ago that young man was shot and killed at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon at the Metro, the Shaw Metro. So I mean, the dice game itself is kind of picturesque, but I'm afraid that, you know, the people can get very angry and we could have more violence coming out of that dice game. They do it in front of the school there. They do it on the side of the CVS. They do it near the bike docks. And so there's a lot of people there. So if the dice game were to get out of hand again, it could end up in, you know, violence.
Nope.
The dice themselves, that doesn't bother me. It's just what would come out of it.
Nope, I'm absolutely with you. I ran into a dice game over there just a few days ago. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make an arrest on that one. We will sit there and say in the last 30 days, we have been able to make 2 arrests specific to the gambling. But yes, you hit it right on the head. Is the gambling itself, although it's minor, that's what's causing a lot of the issues at the end of the night. So yes, I appreciate that, John. And I'll let my team know that is definitely picking up.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, Katie, I'm going to unmute you here. There you go, Katie.
Hi, Captain Augustine. I'm one of the neighbors that lives on 10th Street across from the encampment. And it was, I think, my text, along with probably lots of other people's texts, that alerted the police to the incident on 10th Street that resulted in the arrest on Q Street, and then the subsequent activity regarding the encampment. As you can see, I've got little ones hanging out in the background here. And one of them is a kid at Seton. And so I guess that there was lots of communication, but none of it seemed to get to the school itself. And so just from a communication standpoint, it would be maybe good for the police department to look at like how, I mean, maybe it's not too much to ask for direct communication to the schools. It was also spring break, so that was more complicated, but you know, it was a bit disturbing when my husband was the one who spoke to the woman who found out her husband had been arrested with the gun, and we were the ones who alerted the school, as opposed to it coming from the police.
Understood.
Thank you, Katie. Any other but last call for questions for Captain Augustine? This is 3 up. I see you. Hi.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, Frank. I got. I'll meet this person right here. Hi. Go ahead.
Hi, Captain Augustine. Commissioner Negro, I think Alex Padro also wants to ask some questions, but I'm not sure he knows how to raise his hand on the
I see
link
you,
or
Alex,
whatever.
okay.
So, sir, I just wanted to sort of raise for your awareness that I think the presence of the sort of, I'm not sure if you call it a permanent patrol or whatever it is down on the south side of Kennedy Rec Center has resulted in some movement of the different groups and block party folks who like to congregate to the Kennedy Center Rec Center parking lot in the evenings, and particularly at the intersection of Marion and P Street. There can be a lot of illegal parking going on that makes it difficult for traffic to move through there. But also there's some increased drug dealing and also public marijuana consumption right next to the children's playground. I've not noticed any increased patrol in that area with this congregating. The good news is that the parking lot gets closed by the Parks and Rec group, Parks and Rec employees, sort of like around 8 or 9 in the evening. But it is a concern. I think that it would be worthwhile if the police could keep a bit of a closer eye on it, simply because the drug use, particularly with children around, as the weather's warmed up, the kids are using the play area and the spray park area more. Seems a little incongruous.
Nope, I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. I think where did Alex there? Alex, there you are.
Alex doesn't get any more questions. He had me on a meeting for an hour and a half earlier today.
So what are you doing, Alex Jackson? Alex, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, my raise hand feature is not working tonight. Captain, the 600 block of O Street is no stranger to large alcohol-fueled parties, especially in warm weather, and unfortunately is also no stranger to homicides resulting from those activities. So I have to say that I'm a little astonished at the fact that you had 150 people out there with food trucks and grills and open consumption of alcohol. I mean, and it was only April. I can only imagine what this,
On a Wednesday.
on a Wednesday. I mean, I can only imagine what this foreshadows for us this year. I mean, that's not just the folks that live at City Market at O, but the people that live in the other apartment complexes nearby are in for an awfully bad summer if this is how we're going to respond to such a major incident like this. We know for a fact that social media is used to broadcast these parties. I mean, is there an intel, function, within MPD that can be monitoring, these, social media channels so that you get a heads up before there's 150 people that arrive there, so that you can try to intervene and put up some sawhorses and say, like, the street's closed for today, so that we don't have another homicide happen.
The short answer to that, I can't go in great detail within the public meeting, but yes, the quick answer to that is yes. If we find something, that's the big if. But this is why I sit there and just with Michael, and Alex, we talked about this earlier on the meeting, was, darn well, me, MPD, we're not passing the buck. All right. But I can sit there and I can give you years and years and years of documented activity, arrests, patrols that MPD has done, but yet we're still talking about the exact same blocks. And this is why I challenge everybody. It's not to push back. It's not to say Dave Augustine doesn't care. We need to figure out a bigger solution. We're in for a long summer. All right. I hope it's not violent, but I think it's going to be a big summer because everybody wants to get out. Everybody wants to have fun. And you hit it right on the head. I mean, not only was it April, it was a Wednesday. This wasn't even a Saturday. It was a Wednesday that this happened on. So I think people are eager, but that's how how do we work as all these different DC government agencies? How do we work as all these ANCs, the civic associations? How do we get that message out to the folks that we are charged with protecting to say, hey, if you do get this information, let us know. There's folks in our neighborhoods that they know who have the guns. They know who are involved. How do we sit there and how do we empower them to feel comfortable to tip us off to sit there and take the action? And then the big thing is, and Mr. Holm, I respect, with the public marijuana use, yes, the expectation, what is the community's expectation that we do with somebody that's using marijuana in public? There's such a political issue right now with the public use of marijuana. MPD, we can sit there and do an arrest or rate a summary arrest for using marijuana. But really what's that going to do is that's going to take somebody off the street, maybe up to 3 hours. And then they're going to be back out doing it. Do we need to start working with getting the pressure on the OAGs, the U.S. attorneys, just like Captain Duro was saying, is the prosecution of these folks. I have an ATV warrant for actually the 5E community that we wrote at the beginning of April. It's still pending whether they want to sit there and go forward with the case, so we can't take action on it. It's one of those things where what other things can we do even before we get to that point? We get an arrest. Are we going to prosecute? And then if we're going to prosecute, what are the conditions that are going to be put in? Who's going to hold that accountability for that person to follow those conditions after we make an arrest? Or is it just that they're going to be on the street and we're just going to have the repetitive behavior? What can we do as a community to really bring in a whole bunch of resources beforehand to the 600 block of O, that know the big players in there? Yes.
I'm going to stop. I have one more. We're going to do one more question. Okay.
Okay.
We appreciate what you're saying, but I have Christina waiting, and then I've got the director of DPW. Okay. So Christina, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead. Boop. Do your thought. There you go.
Thanks. Just quickly, I have Augustine, the data point on the Kennedy Rec Center, since Mr. Holm brought it up. For what it's worth, it's mostly Maryland plates, including consumption of alcohol. Also obviously concerned with driving safety. So that might be one helpful angle to get at it, is as they're leaving under the influence over.
Thank you. Okay, Captain, we will continue.
So Alex, feel free to get a hold of me later, and it's going to be the same thing, but you know where my perspective is, and any of the commissioners, Commissioner Nigro, I can't put in the chat because it's disabled, but feel free to email me. I'll have this long conversation. I'll come over and meet you for a cup of coffee. We can walk the block, and I love to have this time. I'm passionate about what I do. but it's a lot bigger issue. Just like as Captain Darrell said, this isn't just a police issue. We got to think of a bigger thing. The solution can't just be, hey, police, go get it, because that's going to be very temporary.
Okay, Captain, we will continue the discussion. Okay, I see you, Michael Eichler, but we're going to continue the discussion. We've got
Email me,
Director
Mike.
Davis. Okay. Okay, thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, we're going to shift some things around because we have our special guest, Director Davis has zoomed in. So we will pause for hearing from Councilmember Allen and the mayor's office. So Director Davis, could you raise your hand, or Alex or Marcus, could you unmute the director, please? I saw her. Where'd she go? Director Davis? There, yay!
Good evening, how are you?
We are so pleased to have you with our at our meeting. We're so honored that you could Zoom in. I know you're very busy. So I'm going to have Commissioner Eichler lead the discussion, Director. We're also, thank you for responding to our resolution too.
No problem. Wanted to share some of our thoughts and the things that we're working on. We've observed, just like everyone else, that the pandemic has exposed an issue with proper disposal of waste in litter cans. And that's one of the things that we are addressing. First, figuring out how many cans we actually have and how many are actually being serviced daily, some nightly, sometimes twice a day. Figuring out our routes. Are our routes too long? Are they are our crews able to actually service the cans? Are we servicing them properly? Those are the types of assessments that I've begun since my tenure at DPW as the interim director. So your concerns, we share them, and we are working towards resolving the concerns that you've raised.
Michael.
Hi, yeah, thanks so much for those comments. You know, as you may have seen in the letter that we sent, you know, there are a variety of people across the district who are very interested in trying to help solve this problem. I hope that you do take us up on our offer to have like a task force of you know, DPW as well as ANC commissioners and others who might want to work together to find some creative solutions. One of the things that I do during neighborhood cleanups is I actually, you know, but we have these neighbors, they come out to the street, we like sweep up litter in the curbs and whatnot. I like to go and pull the trash can out and clean out all the poop bags that had fallen down the crack as a, you know, neighborhood community, you know, a service thing that I can do. And in doing so recently, I've discovered so many of the actual trash cans themselves are degraded. They've been chewed through by rats. They have stuff falling out through the bottom of them. So I think it really is, you know, I mean, at first I was like, oh, I'll just pull it out and use my little grabber to pull it. And no, this is like getting down on your hands and knees level, like probably second guessing my decision to do that. And maybe I won't do that again. But that raised the other question of like, you know, we need protocols to ensure, I mean, that these bins are maintained well, that we don't have the ability for trash to fall down the side and kind of between the can and the cage. Clearly, like rats have eaten through the bottom of these trash bins in a lot of places. And so there's, you know, the maintenance itself of the trash, the litter cans that I'm really, you know, concerned about. But then there's a handful of litter cans that are continuously abused by known parties within our communities, and we don't know what to do about it, other than simply having someone remove the litter can itself because it has not been respected and well used. So I just want to hear from you if you have any ideas about how we might start to change people's behavior, either through the design of the cans themselves or through educational campaigns, or perhaps ticketing, perhaps maybe with some increasing in fines that might actually be impactful enough to change people's behavior.
So we are assessing the condition of all of the cans. There are more than 6,600 cans that DPW is responsible for collecting in the city. That does not include the cans that the bids maintain. We pick up their trash, but they actually place materials in the trash and they'll take the bags and maintain the cans. So we've got a large population of cans that we have to maintain. Part of the assessment that I mentioned is determining the condition of the cans. Is it time to replace the liner? like you, I've observed trash between the liner and the bin, and I've raised the issue several times. Well, we really haven't cleaned it up if there's still trash between the liner and the bin. So we're having crews go back and do that, but it's not a permanent solution unless they're going to do that every time they collect the can. Now, I believe if we do one mass effort and then just maintain it, that will be part of the solution to the problem. In addition to looking at a different design, some of the lids that you all presented where there isn't a gap between the liner and the litter can, great idea. And that's something that we need to explore, but that it also requires a financial investment. So that's part of the assessment that we're doing. Regarding enforcement, we do enforce. Our sweep inspectors, we can issue a ticket for the improper use of the litter cans. However, we have to find material that identifies the person who put the materials there. I think we've been on the news enough over the last few years talking about litter cans that people are wise enough to know not to put their mail in the cans anymore, not to put anything with their name or address in the cans anymore because they receive tickets. So if there is no manner for us to identify who's putting improper materials in the bin, we can't issue a ticket. When we do identify those persons, we do issue tickets. The tickets start at $75 and go up in increments from $75 to $150, then to $300, then to $600 when you get to the fourth tier. That's after they've been adjudicated as liable by the Office of Administrative Hearings. So there is a tier scale for the fines. The problem is finding material to identify the person who's improperly using it. In addition to enforcement, we are working on a campaign to educate everyone on the proper use of the cans. You know, we've had litter campaigns. I've been at DPW for over 20 years. And throughout my tenure, we've had many litter campaigns and some more successful than others. So we are dusting off some of our litter campaigns. We are going to revive some of our campaigns, make them fresh and new, and get information out there about the appropriate use of litter cans. One of the things that I was thinking when I received the ANC 6E's proposal was putting notices or signs on the litter cans. You can attach them with zip ties, so you don't have to, bolt them to the can or the like, but explain to people who are getting ready to use the can, don't put your household waste in the can. Those things will help reinforce our message and hopefully encourage people to comply with the appropriate usage of the can. So those are some of the things that we're thinking. We don't know that there is one fail-safe thing to do because I don't think there is. People misuse the cans for a myriad of reasons. Anecdotally, during the pandemic, the trash that DPW collects exponentially increased because everyone was home. So they were generating more trash. Well, we don't collect trash from commercial residential properties, so that's 4 or more units. The collections for those properties did not increase, even though they were putting out more trash. So some people, because they and their kids are home generating more trash, their landlord has collections maybe once a week. So the roll-off may be full. So rather than keep that trash in my home, I'm going to send my child outside with the trash and put it in the nearest litter can. And we observed that that was part of what was going on during the pandemic. We're hoping that now that things are somewhat returning to normal and things are reopening, that there will be a shift back to the appropriate way of disposing trash. But we're keeping our eyes out looking for it right now.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. And please let me know what I can do to help. And there are others who are also really interested in trying to help out with this as we move things forward. Thanks.
So Director, just like Commissioner Eichler, I am passionate about, I would never think I'd be passionate about garbage cans and dog poopy bags, but here's where we are. I mean, I talk about dog poop bags almost every day, but I need some, what did you call it? The fourth tier. I need some 4th tier action in my single member district. I have some habitual dumpers. And I know Celeste is on this call because she gets all my emails, my crazy videos and my crazy pictures and all that. So I'll be reaching out about the 4th tier level because I can identify these residents and they frankly just don't care anymore. And that's it. They don't
Okay, well, we can't start at tier 4. We have to start at tier.
They probably reached the other tiers many times. Ask Celeste.
Okay, so we just need to make sure that we're following the law, but I do completely understand. And you get the information to us. I'll make sure that our sweep inspectors, they're out there. Sometimes they observe violations and they can address them immediately. But we've got to be able to identify the perpetrators in order to find them and encourage them through a fine to stop the illegal behavior.
Do my videos not count? Because I know you guys, because what if they don't have a piece of paper with their name on it in the trash can? But I know who it is, and I have sent many stakeout videos.
So I am an attorney that's what I went to school for. So your video would work if you testified at trial.
Oh, well, over dumping?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
We'd have to person who did the video to state that this is an actual account of what happened. I am the person who did it. This is in the same condition as it was when I observed it. And you have to be able to identify the person and what they're doing. So you can do it, but you have to make yourself available for the hearing.
I'll be thinking about that. Thank you. All right, commissioners, any other questions for Director Davis before I open up to the public?
Question.
Frank?
Yes, please correct me if this is not under your purview, rather DPR. But on the 600 block of O Street, there's a memorial growing of 101 beer bottles. I don't know if that's under your purview, but it seems to be growing. I don't know if somebody was harmed there or not, but it's right next to the Kennedy wreck, and these beer bottles are growing exponentially. How long does one wait before the city cleans that environment up?
Well, is this something that occurred last week? I know that there was something that happened on O Street last week. We went out to clean it up, but it was too fresh of an incident. What we don't want to do is to put our employees in harm's way cleaning up. So what I'll do is I'll circle back. Celeste is jotting the information down. I'll circle back with my cleanup crews to see when they plan to go back and get it.
I wouldn't suggest. I'm sorry. I wouldn't suggest 2 o'clock in the afternoon. To be honest with you, I think it would be late night when everybody's off the street,
or early morning when they're not there.
Exactly.
So that would be my recommendation. And they've got to do it quietly. They can't come in with a big truck to do it. You don't want to wake anybody. But I will out to my street and alley cleaning division and have them revisit the location.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any other questions before I open up to the public for Director Davis?
I just want to really quickly say, Director Davis, I know that we give you a lot of pressure about the state of our trash bins. But I, on the other hand, I do really want to commend your staff, the sanitation workers of the district, for working so diligently throughout the public health emergency to make sure that our trash was collected on time and that our public bins are being emptied. And I know that is often a thankless job. So just want to make sure that we wanted to give you a little bit of credit, and your workers are doing a nice job.
Thank you so much.
I second that. Okay, I'm going to open up to the public. Oh, Christina, do you have a question? Okay, I'm going to unmute you here. Unmute. There you go.
Thanks, Rochelle. And thanks, Director Davis. Appreciate it. Just to clarify one point with some of the issues we're having with the residential dumping in our litter cans in the neighborhood, and for some reason we have a litter can in a purely residential neighborhood, but DPW has been great. After a couple years of working together, we finally got no place for that litter can. Man, it's getting emptied every night, and that's made such a big difference. But therein lies the rub, because the can gets filled almost every day by a handful of neighbors and the private school adjacent to the can who's using it for their own dumping instead of a trash service. And so it gets filled up, and then it starts to overflow, including with Rochelle's favorite doggy bags and all that. And then we have a mess in the street that gets blown around and run over, and poop gets smeared, and it's quite gross. And then the DPW crew faithfully comes and empties what's left in the can, but then we have this mess. And so we file sweep requests to have inspectors come, because we understand the burden of them needing to actually visually see the offense in order to write a ticket. But by the time the sweep team can come because that's a 5 to 7 day resolution window in 311. You know, the can's been emptied nightly, so the evidence is gone except for all the videos and eyewitness accounts. And so the sweep team really isn't able to solve the problem. And so I just wanted to highlight that kind of weird catch scenario to your attention, which is really what we're struggling with. And so there's a team of dedicated neighbors who really do go and clean up after everybody else and then keep that area, you know, but it's a preventable problem, but I don't see it getting solved with the current system because of that catch scenario.
Well, one of the things that I've revived is we call them our core teams, where members of our solid waste divisions and other members of the agencies, not only would solid waste be present on this core team, but our parking enforcement, which includes the parking enforcement officers, the booting and towing. We work collaboratively, not only amongst ourselves, but with our sister agencies to resolve intractable issues in the neighborhood. This issue of coordination so that the sweep inspector can get there before your litter cans are collected and the area is clean so that they can document the information and find out or do some sort of investigation to determine who's doing it. We can resolve that with the core team. Celeste is taking this information down. This will be an issue for that core team to handle so that the sweep inspector will get there at the same time street and alley cleaning gets there, so that sweep can do their thing first and then street and alley can then have their crews come and collect it.
Okay, any other questions for Frank? Do you have a question?
Yes, I failed to ask for your support for the removal of graffiti on the parcel 42, which is address is 1713 7th Street. It's been there for about 3 months. I put in several DC 311 tickets with pictures, but I have not got any responses from DPW to get this graffiti removed. It's about 20, 30 feet high. So I really would ask and almost beg you to see if your team members can get somebody out there. I was told that they went on one day, but they did not know that Shaw Main Street has access to that fenced area. So I was asked to put that information inside the ticket request, which I did. It was like the 3rd ticket over 3 months. But if you can follow on this particular request, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, the address is 1713 7th Street. It's on the parcel 42 land that's owned by the city that's gated, so you can't get in unless you have access to that lot. But the letters GEO has been painted on the side of the building for the past 3 months, and I put in, I know I reported it 3 different times with no response.
I'll follow up with,
I'm sorry?
I'll follow up with our nuisance abatement team. You say it's 20 to 30 feet up. Is this something that we need additional equipment to reach?
It's possible. It's possible because it's about 30 feet high.
Okay, that might be a complicating factor, but now that we know we have access or can get access to the property, I'll have them look at it and then they'll ensure that once they go there, they have the appropriate equipment to reach the graffiti.
Now, would it be advantageous for the address of 1713? We have a concierge desk there. Could they be empowered with a key at some point so that since they're right there next to that property, if someone needs to get in as a last resort, I'm not trying to take away any power from Shaw Main Street, but when they did come that one time, they didn't know how to get into that property. And I was thinking if we had a key at 1713, they may have could have gotten access to that property, to that particular land. Is that something that could be entertained?
But if someone is available that can give us access, that does help the matter. I can't tell you to give a key to the concierge. You know, there are other, you know, liability issues associated with it.
Understood.
But if someone does have access and can give us access, that removes that impediment.
Okay. Well, I did update the ticket yesterday, and I gave information concerning the Shaw Main Street having access to that fenced lot whenever they're ready to remove the graffiti.
Okay. I'm sure Celeste has gotten that and we'll follow up.
Okay. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your support.
Okay. So, okay. I see Gustavo here. I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, everyone. I don't know who to ask this question to, so I'll just come out. Related to the camping ban and tents, encampments all over the city, what's the general, you know, law and enforcement related to that issue? I'm just ignorant of that. I'm just curious.
So Gustavo, are you talking about for DPW concerns or kind of another type of concern within, it's very
Well,
complex.
a specific concern is the encampment, for example, that's on K Street under the bridge near, I guess, no cap, under the Union Station train overpass. I forget. Yeah. So there's like, you know, a growing number of tents under that bridge, basically nonstop tents. There's probably 30 or 40 tents there now.
So Director Davis, can you just give an answer in terms of the part that DPW would play?
Absolutely. DPW plays a support role. We are not the lead in the removal of encampments. What we do when the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services determines that an encampment needs to be cleaned or removed, the encampment is posted by DDOT. DDOT determines if streets need to be closed in order for DPW to effect the cleaning. Before DPW gets there, the advocates for the homeless and other human services agencies work with the residents of the encampment to determine what is trash and what are their personal belongings. DPW only removes things that are determined to be trash. That's why someone else has to go in before we do. When we get there, everything left on the scene is deemed trash. All the personal items and personal belongings of value have been removed. So we get there with our trucks, with our flushers, all of that to clean up the area, to hose down the area. And then the area is supposed to remain clean, but we all know that, you know, shortly thereafter, after it's clean, some of other tents appear at those sites as well. So we are purely just a cleaning effort on the part of DPW.
Okay, last call for questions from the public for Director Davis for DPW. All things DPW. Press *9 if you're on the phone or use the raise your hand feature. No? No questions? Oh, wow. Director Davis, I'd like to publicly thank Celeste, who is on this call. She has been a great help to me and the person who does your Twitter feed. They have been, poor Celeste has been, I don't know, hundreds of my emails and pictures and all that. And so I'd like to, you know, kudos to her for being very patient and helpful.
And Cedric Morris does our Twitter feed, and I will pass.
Oh, okay. I'll have to do a shout out
on your
Twitter. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Director, we thank you for your time. We appreciate the work that you and your team does in the community.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for zooming in. Okay, so I'm gonna, is Talib on? Raise your hand or press *9. Mayor's office. Ed or Marcus, you see Talib anywhere? No? Okay, Naomi, Charles Allen's office. *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone here from Charles Allen's office? No. Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay, so we have up, and it's all of our long Class A liquor renewals. I'm gonna unmute. Where is Alex Padro? Oh, wait, there's Naomi. Naomi, I see you. Never mind, Alex, hold on. I see Naomi. Okay, Naomi. Go ahead, Naomi, go ahead. After you unmute yourself.
Okay, am I unmuted?
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to try not to be too lengthy here, but I want to get a couple of major points out. One that's probably dear to your hearts is that in response to Commissioner Eicher and building management and other seniors, we're organizing a special mobile unit to get to some of the seniors who aren't able to get out of the building or afraid, etc. Starting probably with Phyllis Wheatley and maybe including a couple around there. So that's coming up. We'll be out there getting some seniors who are homebound immunized. Some census data has been recently released. It's not everything. And of course, the census is going to decide what the boundaries of all the wards are, within those, the ANC boundaries, within those, the SMD boundaries. But given that this year it's late, this is going to push that whole process up to the beginning of the year, which means that we won't get around to doing it till the following year of implementing it. At any rate, we would have liked that to have been better. Other points, recently, some of you may have heard that the DC Police Reform Commission released its report. It examines policies and practices in DC and provides recommendations. Mainly, they focus on policing in schools. It's the alternatives to policing, justice in policing, including other supports such as violence interrupters, agency involvement. You've heard some of that tonight with the DC police reporting on their needs, their concerns when they're trying to deal out there without anybody being out there with them to help. The budget, of course, is going to be late this year because we're getting a whole bunch of new money from the feds for the federal recovery, and we're needing to wait to get it, to integrate it into our local funds and the planning. And so the budget decisions are going to be delayed this year for a couple of months. Probably means that the council will probably shorten this recess this summer to try to catch up on that. There's a special committee on the COVID-19 pandemic recovery that's chaired by co-chaired by Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Gray. And their job is to make recommendations for DC recovery from the global pandemic, such as, well, there are two public hearings, and one is going to examine the impact on residents as the special safety nets protections enabled by the council emergency legislation. The mayor and the feds begin to phase out. That includes evictions and utility shutoffs, moratoria on, as well as the expansion of TANF, SNAP, DC Health Alliance, and unemployment insurance. So as these programs wind down, there's going to be need to be a plan in place already that would deal with the massive amount of unpaid back rent, for example. Then finally, I want to illustrate that the second hearing, May 26th. The first hearing is May 21st. The second one is going to focus on education and what it looks like when this is all over, when kids have been home virtually learning, and we expect that when they can actually measure the impact of existing groups learning, they're going to find what happened before, and that is that the loss is mainly along racial and economic lines, and this will have been exacerbated during this period. So some of the key questions that will be addressed in that hearing is how do we ensure all students have access to high-speed internet at home and in school? How can we prepare teachers and school leaders to help students process the trauma, any trauma, for more than a year living and learning remotely? And finally, how do we get students to and from school safely as they resume their commute in the fall? So those are some of the heavy issues that the council is going to be dealing with over the next few months. So any other questions, any comments, any feedback?
Any questions from the commissioners for Naomi? Okay.
Good.
Oh, Michael.
You know, the one question that I do, well, first off, thank you, Naomi, for helping out with maybe some mobile vaccinations. Phyllis Wheatley, you know, they're definitely interested. We also have two other senior housing developments within my jurisdiction, Asbury Dwellings, as well as Hodge. So hopefully they're on your radar screen and you're working with the property management there to identify
We are,
residents who
are.
could benefit from in-person vaccination. So I really appreciate your help with that.
Yeah, we'll do that. Just quickly, we believe that, the Bread for the City, the convention center is addressing a lot of those more mobile seniors, but we know the ones we identified are particularly immobile or afraid. So, but we'll look at it. We'll check back. We'll touch base with them before.
Great. And if you need any like connection or liaison with any of them, please let me know.
Sure will.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would just note is, like, and maybe you could mention to Councilmember Allen that there is some concern about sort of the growing amount of lawlessness that currently seems to be bubbling up within the city, whether it's ATVs or 3 a.m. block parties on school nights, like, and that we need to start thinking about longer term solutions and building a coalition to help address these issues. Like, clearly ANC is talking with police officers is not going to solve the problem. And we're not paid for this, right? Like
absolutely.
So,
well,
so
that's
like,
certainly something his committee, the Judiciary Committee, might be tasked with figuring out how there might be a public response to underlying issues with that. That may be where they'd start. But I will certainly carry that back to him.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I heard the earlier discussion and the frustration in the conversations earlier with the police.
Any other commissioner questions before I open up to the public? Nope. Okay. All right. This is for Naomi Mitchell. She is with Charles Allen's office, our council member for Ward 6. Press *9 if you are on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Any questions for Naomi? Going once, twice. Okay.
Good show.
We've got one. We've got one. Oh, I can read. Hold on.
Okay, I'm here.
Where are they? I see you, Katie. Oh, there. Where'd Katie go? There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
So, hi, it's Patrick, actually.
Hi, Patrick.
But, we're sharing the same phone.
Katie.
I just want to say, first off, thank you very much for Commissioner Council members Allen's involvement in trying to address the issues on 10th Street and next to Seton Elementary School.
Yes, those are heavy duty ones.
Yes. I just want to make a pitch or maybe a plea for, I know the issue is still ongoing and some things are still resolved, but unresolved. But we seem to be getting some information more from blogs or from the homeless advocacies than we are getting from either the mayor's office or any place else official about, when things are going up, or that there will or will not be a temporary fence, or that there will be a permanent fence or removal or stuff. So just echoing the earlier plea of more communication, because we all love, I know it's annoying to everyone to get more emails, but we love emails and more information, and would love kind of some official communication from the city about what the actual plan is.
I understand that. I've watched that issue as well. And, the city's hands are pretty tight with respect to being able to actually move them. You know that. Whether the fires are out, the sanitation is there, or the drug dealing is there, all of those are very complicated control factors when the city really doesn't have anything except the legal right to deal with the fires, to deal with drugs. But it's a moving target every day, which I know you know better than we do, how volatile that is from day to day, what might be going on there, what might not. I drive by there from time to time, and it does seem to be growing, but it's growing all over the city. And all over cities around the United States. There's I don't know whether it's what with the pandemic and dislocation or what, but this is a very huge human tragedy. There's been, as you know, many people placed in housing, but there are many more who refuse to be, for psychological or other reasons, to be placed in housing. And so your support and your help with helping identify it has been, important in helping make some of those improvements. So I want to thank you for being vigilant on this. But everybody's struggling with this. And the more suggestions and more issues you point out, maybe the more inventive solutions they find. But basically, hauling them out of there in the truck isn't allowed. And incentives and resources, case working, all of that is being poured into that site more than any other site in the city. And but again, we want to thank you for your engagement with it as well. You're a great helper in this instance.
Okay, we have one more question, Naomi. I'm going to unmute this person on the phone. Hi, person on the phone. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Yes, Pleasant Man here.
Oh, hey,
Yeah, I
Pleasant.
just wanted to ask, after
How
you
you
heard all
doing,
this
Pleasant?
about all our, hi. Yeah, I don't know. I noticed after, we're talking about crime here for an hour, and then somehow we weren't listed on one of the neighborhoods that would get extra attention during the summer, even though we've got big parties going on, and we've had some homicides too here, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're saying
Did they let?
relative. You're saying relative to the rest of the city. You know, you're not less. You're equal. You think in
Yeah,
crime?
yeah, no,
I hear you. Well,
I mean, we haven't. Thing that we haven't had is that we haven't had any children shot, but except for that, we've had people shot, and it's sort of like, it's sort of delicate here. And in the past, we've gotten extra attention in the summer, and yeah, I was just wondering if they even asked Charles if, if they gave him the list here.
Let me find out the criteria and how they made those decisions, and specifically what measure did they use in Shaw as compared to others. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
All right, Naomi, that was great. We're glad that you could join us.
Thank you. Sometimes I have my technical difficulties.
We all
but
do. It's okay. All right,
I'm on
thank
the
you.
phone because it wouldn't work on my desktop. Okay, thank you. You all,
Bye.
I'll be listening to the rest of the meeting.
Oh, it's going to be a long one. You'll be okay.
I'm always listening to your whole long
All
meeting.
right. Great. Now we get to go to liquor license. Okay. All right. So Alex Padra, where are you? Okay. Here we go. Whoop. There you go. Okay, so this we're gonna we have a multitude here of, this is for the Class A liquor renewals for some stores in our area. Go ahead, Alex, if you want to start. We have 2 for 6001 for Commissioner Eichler.
Yes, thank you. So first case is Angel Share Wines and Liquors at 1748 7th Street Northwest. Do we have a representative? Is Prav Saraf on the line?
Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature to speak to us. Angel Share Wine and Liquor, are you in the house?
Okay, I know the representative was out of town and he might have had difficulty being able to.
All right, go ahead.
So the licensee did participate in the ANC 60 ABC Licensing Committee meeting last week. Responded to the one issue in the investigative history in the past 2 years, which was a case of a sale to minor for which a warning was issued, and the licensee offered a satisfactory explanation of how they will prevent that type of infraction from occurring again in the future. So the committee did vote to recommend that the commission support the renewal of this license.
Okay, great. Any questions? Michael, do you want to say anything? No. Okay.
Nothing to add.
Oh, nothing to add. All right. Any questions from the commissioners before I open it to the public? Nope. Okay, this is just real quick. If anyone has any concerns about Angel Share Wine and Liquors, we're discussing renewing their Class A liquor license. Raise your hand. Use the raise your hand feature. Press *9. Any questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, Commissioner Eichler, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. I move that ANC 60 support the renewal of the Class A liquor license for Angel Share Wine and Liquors located at 1748 7th Street Northwest. Do I have a second?
let's do a friendly, that we support that, that we communicate that back to Abra.
And we communicate that back to Abra.
Okay. Any questions about the motion? Do I have a second? Commissioners?
I will second, but just really quickly, if Alex Padro, if we have several liquor licensees for whom the ABC committee didn't have any concerns with, would it be possible to move multiple licenses at once to expedite this?
We specifically offered the licensees the opportunity to address the commission and the public in the event that there was anything they wanted to communicate about their businesses. So that's why we're going through that. But if there aren't any statements that are being made, it'll go pretty quick.
Okay. I seconded.
Okay, Alex seconds. Karen, Denise is having some technical problems. So Denise Blackton is not on. She will not, don't record a vote for Denise. So she's got some stuff going on at the moment. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin.
One abstention.
One abstention for Frank. Kevin, unmute yourself.
Aye.
Okay, one abstention from Frank. Denise is not here, and then the rest are aye. Okay. All right.
Next is ABT Liquors, located at 16.
We're scratching them, right, Alex?
Yes. So the committee's recommendation, because there are outstanding issues, lack of compliance with past settlement agreements, we had recommended that the commission table action on this particular renewal so that Commissioner Eichler has the opportunity to further negotiate and hopefully reach a settlement.
Okay, so then we've got Grand Kata.
So Grand Kata at 1550 7th Street Northwest. Do we have either of the two owners present?
Star 9 or raise your hand feature. Grand Kata. No, okay.
All right. Grand Kata did have 3 incidents in 2019. 2 of them were sales to minors, for which the first one, the board issued a warning, and the second one, it was a sale that was not completed because the salesperson realized that there was a problem after initially viewing the identification, so there was no action taken by the ABC board there. So the committee, and also they have implemented software now that will allow each individual ID to be scanned so that there can't be any chance of accidentally making a sale to a minor. So the committee was pleased to hear that action and recommended that the commission support the renewal of the
Michael, is Pedro one of the guys, Alex?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Pedro, do you need to say something real quick? Pedro, I see your hand raised. No? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, good evening. Yes, what exactly Alex Padro mentioned, we took the proper steps to make sure all of our staff follows the procedures of selling alcohol with the software implementation. So far, after we took those measurements, we haven't had any incidents, and we're obviously super aware of all of the implications it has if it occurs again. So we're happy to announce with the implementation of the software with our POS system is integrated with the verification of the over 21 and also expiration date. So far everything's running smoothly and we're super happy about it.
Well, that is great. Good. We're happy to. All right, Commissioner Eichler, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? No. Any questions from the public? This is about Grand Kata renewing their Class A license. Press star 9 or use the raise your hand feature. No. Okay, Commissioner Eichler.
Okay, so I move that ANC 6C support the renewal of the Class A liquor license for Grand Kata LLC located at 1550 7th Street Northwest, and we communicate that back to Abra.
Commissioners, any questions about the motion?
I second.
Okay, Alex seconds. All in favor? Aye. Kevin?
On
Denise?
abstention,
Frank, are you staying, Frank?
abstaining, yes.
Kevin? Kevin?
Yes, aye. I said aye.
Okay. Aye. Frank's abstaining. No Denise still. Denise is still not among us. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we have, this is in Commissioner Lopez's area. We have two for that. Go ahead, Alex. 1401 6th Street first.
Yes, ABC Grocery at 1401 6th Street Northwest. Is Mr. Cabede on the line?
Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone from 1401 6th Street, M&K? No. Okay, go ahead, Alex.
All right, this establishment has actually been in operation for the past 28 years, and pleased to be able to say that in the last renewal period, last 2 years, they had no investigative issues. So the committee voted unanimously to recommend that the commission support the renewal of this license.
Okay, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Alex Lopez, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions? No? Community, any questions? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature for 1401 6th Street Northwest. Okay, Alex Lopez.
I move that the ANC support the renewal of the Class A liquor license for ABC Grocery at 1401 6th Street Northwest and communicate our support to Abra.
Okay, any questions about the motion? No? Okay, Michael Eichler seconds. I see Denise is back. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Kevin?
No abstention.
Frank abstains. Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, great. One abstention from Frank. Denise is back in the house. Okay. Alex.
Guilford. Next is Guilford Liquors at 446 Rhode Island Avenue Northwest. I see Mr. Kim is on the line.
Up, Daniel Kim.
And this establishment under the current ownership has been at this location for 15 years, but there has been a liquor store at that location for many decades. Mr. Kim is the son of the current owner. In terms of investigative actions, there was a case in 2019 of no ABC manager on duty for which a $250 fine was paid. So Mr. Kim, if there's anything you'd like to say about that or anything you'd like to share about your establishment's current operations.
Yeah, it'll be resolved as we have sent in an application to have a secondary temporary manager so that at all times there will be an ABC licensed manager on site at all times. So this future accident won't occur in the future.
Great. So the committee was pleased to receive this information and voted unanimously to recommend that the commission support the renewal of this license.
Okay, Alex Lopez, any comments?
I have no comment.
Okay, commissioners, any additional comments?
Nope.
Okay.
Nine.
For the public, any questions about Guilford Liquors at 446 Rhode Island Avenue? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Nope. Okay, Alex Lopez.
I move that ANC 6E support the renewal of the Class A retail liquor license for Guilford Liquors at 446 Rhode Island Avenue Northwest and communicate such to Abra.
Okay, any questions about the motion, commissioners? No. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Michael seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Denise says aye. Frank?
One abstention.
Frank abstains. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're going to Patrick's area, two in Patrick's area. I'm gonna unmute you, Patrick.
So the first license renewal is I Street Cellars at 425 I Street Northwest. And I saw Savita Malhotra, one of the owners, on the line earlier.
Okay, You want to press *9 or raise your hand? Use the raise your hand feature if you want to talk to us. Okay, go ahead, Alex. Pedro.
Yes, so this establishment has been open for 7 years. In 2019, they did have 2 sales to minor. After the first one was resolved with a warning from the board, the board did impose a $3,000 fine for the second infraction with a 5-day suspension, which was stayed for 1 year in the event that there were no further infractions, and there were none. They also have installed a new POS system which scans IDs and verifies their validity, and any minors are flagged, so they have not had any further issues related to sales to minors. So the committee was pleased to hear that they had taken proactive action to address the situation, and recommended unanimously that the commission supports this.
Rochelle, real quick, the proprietor is on the call. I believe she raised her physical hand in the camera. She's listed as Pixel 3A XL.
Ed and Marcus, can you unmute that person?
Pixel 3 XL.
Let's see.
And Mrs. Malhotra is also the representative that will be speaking for our final renewal. So don't cut her off after she's spoken, please.
All right, is the person here for I Street Sellers? Did you want to speak to us?
Yes, sure.
Or you're there? Okay.
I think he said it all before I started. Yes, we have taken very proactive actions, so none of those occurrences happen again. All in all, we've been in business over 35 years with the liquor industry. So these were a couple of isolated incidents. They just happened sort of back to back in 1 year, which was very discerning for us too. But as we said, so we are very proactive. We'll always make sure none of that happens ever again. Well, mistakes happen, but from our side, I do want to say that I Street Sellers has come a long way. We have the most latest selection of bourbons, most latest selection, numerous craft beers that come. We pretty much buy everything that comes on the market. We have over 3,000 wines in selection from all over the world, plus a lot of California selection. I just want our community to know it's been a lot of people have left the community off and on during the pandemic. So hopefully people are now coming back and we're seeing the traffic again. But we're very pleased to be in that area, and we're doing everything we can to be proactive with the community to make sure that everybody's happy with us and we're happy with them.
Great. We're happy that you're here. Okay. So Patrick, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Thanks.
Okay. Anything to add from the committee? Any questions from the commissioners? Nope. Any questions from the public? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. It's about I Street Sellers. Okay. Go ahead, Patrick.
I move that ANC 6E support the liquor license renewal for I Street Sellers located at 425 I Street Northwest, and communicate that support to ABRA.
Okay. Any questions about the motion? Denise seconds. So that Denise? Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One exception.
Where'd Denise go? Do we see
He's
Denise?
lost in the fog.
Oh, there she is. Denise, what did you say? Denise? Denise, I couldn't hear your vote.
Rochelle, I think I seconded that motion, just for the record.
Okay, Karen. Alex Lopez seconded it. Okay, we can't hear Denise, so we won't record a vote for Denise. Okay. Okay, next.
Renewal is Select Reserves at 500 K Street Northwest, and Ms. Malhotra is also representing them as one of the owners.
Yes.
And And thankfully, there were no investigative issues related to this licensee in the past 2 years. So the committee did vote to recommend that the commission support the licenses.
Okay, anything to add, Patrick?
Nope, all set.
Okay, any questions, Commissioner, about 500K select reserves? No, okay, any questions from the community, 500K? Press *9 if you're on the phone or use the raise your hand feature. No, okay, Patrick.
I move that ANC 6E support the liquor license renewal for select reserves located at 500 K Street Northwest and communicate that support to ABRA.
Okay, any questions about the motion, commissioners? Nope.
A second.
Okay, Alex seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Denise?
Aye.
Denise? Denise, we can't hear you. Okay, so we can't record. I don't know what's going on with Denise. Okay. Okay, motion passes. Okay.
Thank you.
Alright. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna text Denise right now. Okay, so let's, and then here's my area. So now we have one new liquor license. It is for, it's very exciting, for Petite Cerise at 1027 7th Street Northwest. Matt, are you on the line? Matt?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I see him. Okay, Alex, go ahead.
Yes, so Petite Cerise from the owners of the Michelin-starred restaurant The Dabney in Blagden Alley have applied for a new retailer's Class C restaurant license at 1027 7th Street Northwest on the corner of L Street. Is Matt on or is he not on?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll allow him to make a brief presentation about their request related to this license. The committee did recommend unanimously that the commission support this new license based on the approval of a settlement agreement, but also that that the commission support a stipulated license for this establishment in the event that their build out moves forward at the current pace and is able to open before the board would be able to rule on their normal license.
Matt?
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. So thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah. Petite Cerise is going to be a French restaurant with a seating capacity of 150 inside across the first and second floors. The total occupancy load of 199, that's seating and standing. There's also a request for a sidewalk cafe with a maximum of 25 seats. The hours of operation for the interior that we requested are 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. during the week and 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. on the weekends. For alcoholic beverage service, it'll be 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. during the week and 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. on the weekends for the interior. The sidewalk cafe hours we've changed after discussions with Commissioner Nigro. The hours we're now asking for are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. during the week and 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. on the weekends, with alcoholic beverage sales starting at 8 a.m. There's no entertainment endorsement sought for the exterior, and there's no speakers that are going to be installed in the sidewalk cafe. And if anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to address them, but we thank the ABC committee support thus far.
So Matt, let me ask you, so now you think that you guys you want a stipulated license? We had not discussed that.
No, we had, actually it was Mr. Patter brought it up just because we were thinking if the build out does come, because the petition deadline date is the end of, well, it's the middle of June, but even then, if there's 2 weeks in between, it might be one of those things where if somehow, if construction promises are all on time, they could be ready to open maybe early July, but it could just be a matter of the board not having taken under advisement because there was a recess date or something like that in the interim. So it would just give us the option if for the brief period after the end of the petition deadline date before the actual approval of the ABC board of the application itself by the ABC board.
Okay, that's fine. So, but did you talk to this has nothing to do with liquor. Did you talk to your clients about the outdoor space? Because I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, we actually have not had the formal plan submitted, but we know we're going to have, let me bring up, there's going to be umbrellas and or awnings and planter boxes around to sort of set it off and attenuate some of the noise that could possibly develop out there from patrons dining.
Maybe you can see us next month about that, if they get that.
We probably will be.
All right, you'll be back for more, action. Okay, well, we're
Love
really
coming here.
excited. And I appreciate that your clients were flexible with the outdoor cafe times because my constituents' balconies being pretty much right there. So I do appreciate, they're not on the call, are they, Matt?
No, unfortunately, no one was able to join from the actual applicant itself.
Well, we thank you for that. Okay, any questions from the commissioners about Petite Cerise and their Class C liquor license? No, okay. Any questions from the public? This is at the corner of 7th and L. This is very exciting for our area because that's addition to that L Street block. Press star 9 if you're on the phone or use the raise your hand feature. No. Okay. All right, I'll make the motion. Denise, can we hear you now? Denise? We still can't hear Denise. Okay. Okay, let me make the motion. I move that ANC 6E support the stipulated license and the retailer's Class C license for 1027 7th Street Northwest for Petite Cerise, and that we support, we communicate that back to Abra.
I'll second.
Okay, Michael seconds. Okay, any questions about the motion? All right, no questions. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention.
Okay, Frank abstains. Denise? Okay, Karen, don't record a vote for Denise. Okay, great. Motion passes. All right, thanks, Matt. We'll be talking again.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
Appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thanks for zooming in.
Bye.
Okay, and I'll sign that, Matt. I'll get that up. Okay, he's gone. Okay. All right, now we have another thing from my area, 473 Wood Street. This is for the Historic Preservation Review Board for an addition. Do I have a representative, the architect, Greg? Press star 9. Oh, there you are, Greg. How are you? There you
Good,
go.
thank you.
Good.
And
Let me unmute Tony. Where's Tony? Tony, there you go. Where'd you go, Tony?
Right here.
Okay. Everyone moves on my screen. Okay. All right. So
and I believe the owner is here too.
Oh.
Angela and Justo.
Yes.
Angela.
Justo.
Angela and Justo.
Okay. Can you raise?
Oh, there he is. And
oh, there he is. Okay, gotcha. I see you.
There they are.
I see you. How are you? Yeah. So. Okay, there you go. Hi.
Thanks so much for considering our proposal.
Oh, it's very exciting. More stuff for Rich Street. That's good. All right. So go ahead, Tony.
Good evening. With delight, I'm presenting this project on Ridge Street, which during my tenure on the zoning committee, every time one of those developments come up, there's been a long issue or there've been problems trying to get things pushed through. However, this project is very easy, and we were pleased to hear the project and report that this is a property that's covered by historic preservation. However, the second floor, I mean, the rear of the house, it only has a one floor dog leg. They're applying to add a second floor to the dog leg in the rear, and it will be a project that is by right. So there are no variances or exceptions that we're requesting. The only thing we have to do is give our concerns on the design basically of the second floor or for the second floor. So anyway, Gregory Kearley, he's the architect, and then we have Justo and Angela, who are the owners. They will make the presentation. Gregory?
Greg?
Yeah, hi. Do you want me to show you this project?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have that.
You guys have it?
Yeah.
I do. I've been all about those
Okay.
liquor licenses. Hold on.
So the reason we're going to HPRB is because we're a townhome and we're mid-block, but there's an anomaly because we have an apartment building, a condo building next door, and they have a side yard. So you can see a sliver of the addition from the side yard, but you can't see it as it's directly across the street. And there's some precedent for this at the west end of the block, which is in the presentation, which I show an image of a similar rear addition that you can see from the side. So,
Okay,
so
great.
we're,
Where am I going here with this?
So keep going down. This is the zoning and code information, but we're doing the project as a matter of right. This is the existing conditions. You can see the side yard right there, right? You can see the side yard on the photo to the right. That is not on our property. That is on the neighbor's property. And it's a side yard for the apartment condo building next door to ours. So this is a single family home, which is going to remain a single family home. Angela purchased the home some years ago, and she's been living with her husband and son in California, and now they're coming back home. And with an expanding family, they need an addition to accommodate, their new their new lifestyle. We're not trying to do anything with multiple units. It'll be single family home occupied by the owner. So if you keep going down, that's the demo drawings. You see the new site plan. You can see the side yard and plan here, which is the neighbor's property, not ours property. And you see our addition there in the rear. These are the floor plans. And then as the elevations, you cannot see the addition when you're directly across the street. This is the precedent on the left is what we're looking at doing. And you can see the sliver of what you see from the through the side yard. And then I have a drawing, which is the final drawing, which shows, I'm calling it a cone of view, which is there's about 10 feet that when you're across the street, that you can get a glimpse of this through the side yard.
Okay.
And this shows that you cannot see the addition when you're directly across the street because it sits below the ridge of the existing two-story structure.
Okay, great. So I know that I put it on my Facebook page and on my social media. I put it on the Ridge Street Facebook page, and the neighbors were noticed. Correct, Greg?
Yeah, I actually went over a couple of times. The neighbor to the left has a sign saying, "Please wait if you ring and I don't come down." I don't know. I sat there for 20 minutes and I've done this twice. And so I put a letter and the drawings in her mailbox through the slot in the mailbox. And then the neighbors to the right, the condo building, I've been there a number of times and their call box doesn't work. So they said, please call someone's cell phone, and I don't have anyone's cell phone. So what I did was I left drawings twice. I left drawings and a letter explaining what we're doing. So I have gone out and reached out to the neighbors on either side, and I haven't been able to speak to them, but I've tried multiple times, and I left the letter explaining what we're doing, and I left the drawings for both parties.
Okay. I did not hear anything from anyone. So, and it was pretty public about it. So.
And
okay.
Historic is also notifying, they sent me a notice that they have notified a number of neighbors per their staff, and they gave me a list of addresses of who they've contacted. So the neighbors have been reached out to. I just haven't had a chance to speak with them. But I did, the neighbor on the one, there's a sign, I don't know if it didn't look like anyone was home both times I was there.
Well, there are a lot of them are on their own Facebook page there. So, and they know how to reach me. So I wouldn't,
Sure.
put it out there. Okay.
And they're being notified that there is the hearing with HPRB that they can go to if they need to. Again, we're not taking away parking. We're having a single family home, which we're trying to accommodate for for Justo and Angela. So with their growing family and to make it, they want to be part of the community and part of the neighborhood.
All right, sounds good. Okay, any questions from the commissioners about this? No. Anyone from Ridge Street on the phone want to make a comment, or anyone from the community? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone? Okay, looks good then. All right, thank you, Justo, for zooming in too, and we'll look forward to having you back in the neighborhood. Let me make the motion. I move that ANC 6E support request for support or do a letter of support for 473 Ridge Street Northwest for the Historic Preservation Review Board for the addition.
Second.
Okay, Frank seconds. Any questions about the motion? Nope. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Denise, I hear you. Denise is back. Okay. Kevin, all right, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Paul.
I believe our HPRB hearing is on the 27th of May.
Okay.
So, so thank you, and we appreciate your support.
All right. We're on it.
Right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm having some technical difficulties, folks, for 1 second. Okay, we're going on to Wiltberger. John Shaw, I'm going to unmute you. Where's John Shaw?
He's there.
Okay. Okay, and this is in Alex Lopez's area.
Mhm.
And also, I think Barry Scott is on the line.
Barry,
Barrington Scott.
press *9. Up there they are. Okay.
And then I don't know if Carolyn Swingon is on. She
Carolyn is here.
raised her hand.
She is.
Unmute.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? This is Barrington Scott, Barry Scott here.
Okay, why don't you go ahead, Tony?
Okay. Don had and I had been talking about the Wiltberger East Alley for a while now, and with all the development that has occurred, with all the new buildings here, and the Shaw and all of the activity that's going on in the alleys, he thought it would be a good thing to sort of start trying to name some alleys. So I took upon himself, John took upon himself to do some research, and being that he's a resident of, he was basically privy to some of the history that had gone on in the earlier years. So he had some background already, but he reached out to some of the folks that had connections with people that really utilized those buildings, established those buildings and entities. And in addition to that, he also reached out to Karen Williams. She's with the DC Historic Preservation Office, and she gave him a good write-up on the entire area. So with that, I'm going to ask that John go ahead and make the presentation.
Sure. I want to preface this. My commissioner, Alex Lopez, picked up by reading the fine print that actually the resolution as it's drafted needs to be friendly amended, because we're going for unofficial naming. Official naming of alleys is very complicated, but unofficial naming, you can't use the word alley. You can only use the word plaza or way. So we are moving, the first point of business is that wherever alley appears in the resolution, it needs to be replaced by the phrase way. This is very specific. It was in the document that was sent to me by Charles Allen's legal advisor in his office, Hopkins, and I failed to pick that up. So that's purely my fault. But I was privileged to move to Wiltberger Street in 2005, and it was a very different place then. The Howard was abandoned, the Wonder Bread Factory was abandoned, a fourplex that faces the side faces Wiltberger was abandoned, and the Holberliner Bakery was being used for the weenie carts, the hot dog carts for downtown. There was no traffic. Things were very, very quiet. It was a little bit of illicit traffic, but not even very much of that. And in fact, one of the three institutions that we seek to preserve in the naming of these ways was still functioning. And they would occupy on good days, they would occupy the street with their lawn chairs because we had no traffic. Well, since the Shaw apartment building on the corner opened, which is apartments and commercial, and since the Adora is finishing and it has apartments, offices, and commercial, we have a lot more. And of course, the Howard was restored completely, as was the Wonder Bread. We have a great deal of foot traffic and the vehicular traffic on Wiltberger Street and in the alleys. And it's leading to some level of confusion, which alley is which. Another very important aspect of naming the alleys is that emergency vehicles, police, fire, whatever, it can be very confusing, or even city services, it can be very confusing when you're trying to explain where a problem is. And then one of the overriding issues in my mind is trying to hold on to part of the history of this area, which is rapidly disappearing. The first two institutions that we seek to preserve in these namings were fully disappeared by the time I arrived on Wiltberger in 2005. The third one was still operating, but just for a couple of years, and it would disappear within a couple of years of my arrival. That was the Wiltberger Clubhouse. The first of the institutions was the Holberliner Bakery. It is older than the two other historic bakeries in the neighborhood, the Wonder Bread and then the bakery across from Howard Hospital. It was a very old bakery. In fact, it was the bread was still delivered by horse carts, and the horse stables were reopened along the back and the south side during the restoration and the repurposing of the building for parking. But these were originally horse stables that were used because the carts are what delivered the bread. I was involved in the historic designation of the Holberliner building, working with DCPL and working with the Office of Historic Preservation. And while she cannot testify orally participating in these meetings, Kim Williams, who wrote the history, a 40-page history of the baking industry and this block, she was allowed by her office to write a letter of support, which all of the commissioners have received from Tony. And in this letter, she says that historic preservation does believe that the alleys should be highlighted and named, and the Historic Preservation Office believes that they should commemorate historic people or institutions that were well known in the neighborhood. So the Holberliner was the first. It's from it began in the 1870s, but I'm going to say it's from the beginning of the 20th century. The second institution was a building that adjoined the Holberliner. It was destroyed and replaced by a cinder block building when I arrived on the street, but it once housed the Joe and May Hurd All Athletic Club. And this was an important nightlife club, very similar to Cecilia's, which was just the official naming for Cecilia's came through just in the month of March past. But Joe and May Hurd's All Athletic Club was likewise a place that entertainers from the Howard would frequent before and after performances. And we have some pictures which Rochelle has in the PowerPoint, which we'll see from that.
I don't
The
have any
third
pictures.
institution was the institution that I was still privy to when I came here, and that was the Wiltberger Clubhouse. And that was covered by articles in the Post and the City paper starting in the early 90s, although the club was much older than that. So I don't know if we want to go through the PowerPoint real quickly. There's about 6 slides.
I don't have your PowerPoint. I have the letter. When did you send me
Oh.
the PowerPoint?
It was distributed with the.
Oh dear.
the
Okay.
other
Well,
Okay.
okay. Can we be okay without it? I did not tune.
I
did
think
not,
so.
Okay.
I would
Should be
like,
all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
the letter that Kim Williams wrote is a good piece for the whole Berliner bakery. The long north-south alley that runs behind the old bakery, we proposed would be whole Berliner. Well, we said Bakery Alley, but now it would be whole Berliner Bakery Way. Then there's a small east-west alley in the north between the Shaw and the Adora building. That would be the May and Joe Hurd All Athletic Club Way. And then the southernmore alley, which is in the map that was sent out, that would be the Wiltberger Clubhouse Way. So I'd like Barry to just talk briefly, because this is the surviving great-grandchild of Joe and May Hurd. And then I would like Karen Swingon to briefly talk about the Wiltberger Clubhouse, because she is the daughter of one of the members.
we need to make this brief, John.
Okay, so just limit Barry and
I
Carolyn's
see Barry
comments to a
here.
couple
Okay,
of
Barry, go
phrases.
ahead.
Thank you, John. Thank you, members of the commission. I appreciate you guys for hearing this opportunity. Just to give you a little bit of background, my great grandmother and my great grandfather were avid supporters of the community. They were really well known. I still have adjourning pictures of Cab Calloway eating chitlins at the bar, of Ella Fitzgerald and Pearl Bailey that frequented those sites on a regular basis. And I think one of the biggest things that she used to talk about is the respect level that she had as a female coming up during that time period and as a bar owner. People would come in, and obviously there was some drug use in the area during that time period, but she would commonly tell me that when people came into the club, they were very respectful and they felt safe and they felt at home, and it was a sense of community. And so I know that she's looking down upon us, with a tear, knowing that, we're in a space where you all are going to be in a position to, hopefully give her roses. I know that, one of the great things that I can say is my great grandfather used to be a police officer that worked the Reeve Center location. So, they came up in that era. They were all well known. I think it was pretty remarkable that when you speak of Cecilia's, Evelyn Penny and Cecilia, that were sisters, and my great grandmother were all females during that time that owned clubs. And I just think that is something that is remarkable, and it's something that from a historical value that people should know, and their story should definitely be told. So I would love for you to consider it, and I really thank you for the opportunity.
And then who
And
else?
then
John?
Carolyn, are you on the line?
Yes.
Carolyn, press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Oh, there she is. Is this Carolyn right here? Hello.
Yeah.
Caroline Swingon.
Hi. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute. There you go.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for giving me the chance for this memorialization of the clubhouse. About 60 years ago, she's young men who lived in the area, played baseball, football, basketball at Cardoza, Dunbar, Armstrong, the Boys Club, and the YMCA. And they were also members of a baseball soft pitch league called the Capital Athletic League, the Bundy League, the Northwest Coalition League, the Green and Vines League. In addition to that, Being themselves athletes and sportsmen, they were also avid lovers of jazz. And they actually entertained the likes of Dinah Washington, Duke Ellington, and Little Richard down at the clubhouse, after their performances at the Howard Theater. In addition to that, they sponsored barbecues, cabarets, craft feasts, block parties, and out-of-town trips, and distributing food baskets, doing some very wonderful works within the community for those people who are underprivileged. So that was 60 years ago, and now they're in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, or many have retired or they are deceased. But that would be a wonderful thing, and I thank you for giving us an opportunity to give you this information.
All right, great.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
don't think I was clear. They were in 1807. So midway the block, they had a little house.
And my
that
father
was
lived
the house.
1803, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, your father was 1803.
1803, yeah.
Yeah, no, this was 1807.
Right.
And on a good day, though, they would sit in their lawn chairs in a semicircle in the street and monitor the neighborhood and look through the door to the big screen with whatever sports was on the screen. So it was really quite the institution. And I think that was actually pictured in the City Paper article of 1992.
Yeah. If I can see it here, I don't know if you can see this.
Yep, there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
Alex, I'm gonna get Alex Lopez to comment. This is his area.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank Carolyn and Barrington so much for coming and sharing your story about your parents and great grandparents. I think that, and I want to thank John for doing all the research, the historical research, to bring this to the ANC's attention. I think that this is a really interesting opportunity to acknowledge the varied history that our neighborhood has had, acknowledging its history as an industrial center for bakeries, as an entertainment center, the hub of Black Broadway, and as a residential and community center. And I think that these three alley designations really encompass that, the diversity of residents and businesses that have occupied Wolfberger Street throughout the years. With that, I just want to say that I would fully support the ANC's recommendation to, I suppose it'd be Councilmember Allen, for making a historic designation for these three alleyways in accordance to the Holes Berline Bakery, the Joe and May Hurd All Athletic Club, and the Wolfberger Clubhouse. Those three as honorary designations. And so,
all right.
Welcome any discussion.
So do you, let me just, do you have to do a petition for this or no? With the neighbors?
Not for an honorary designation.
Okay, I can remember, okay.
No, because Rochelle, there's no address that only opens on these alleys, and there's no address that has a principal entrance.
Okay. Great. Okay, any questions from the commissioners about this wonderful idea? Okay, any questions from the community? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Nope. Okay, Alex, why don't you go ahead and make the motion? Let me look for Denise's. I think Denise is trying to follow. I think Denise is. Oh, there you are. Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move that ANC 6E support the honorary designation of three alleyways. One, the Holes Berline Bakery Way. In the alleyway that's sometimes known as Wolfberger Alley East. The second being Joe and May Hurd All Athletic Club Way in the north alleyway that connects Wolfberger with Wolfberger Alley East. And then the third, the Wolfberger Clubhouse Way for the southern alley connecting Wolfberger Alley and Wolfberger Alley East, and that the ANC communicate its support and for these honorary designations to Councilmember Allen and the council.
One pause here. Kevin, I need you to unmute yourself. Okay, all right.
Got it.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, any questions about the motion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Patrick,
Aye.
okay. Aye, we're all here, okay. Motion passes. Great, fantastic.
Hooray.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for zooming
Thank
in. Be
Alrighty.
great.
Thank you, Carol.
Wait, I think,
Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Barry, did you want to say something? I see your little hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate the committee and definitely appreciate this opportunity. And I know that my great grandparents are looking down very proudly of this moment. So thank you so much.
Great, no, thank you. Excellent. Fantastic. All right, now we're going back to Patrick's area for Shay Lilly. I'm gonna mute you, Patrick. Where'd you go? He's moving around. There you go. And is it Llama? Who's here? Oh, there you are. Hi. How are you? Good to see you. I'm gonna unmute you and I'm gonna put up this presentation here. Go ahead and mute yourself. Gotta unmute yourself. There we go. See it? There you go. Okay. Okay. Patrick, why don't you go ahead? I'm gonna bring up the presentation.
Hey, so this is this is an application for a sidewalk cafe that I am supportive of. This is a Shea Lily. This is a local sort of coffee shop located on I Street. I believe that their request for the sidewalk cafe is in line with other establishments that are. And I thought we actually had a little bit of discussion, a little bit of back and forth on the initial proposal, and I thought that Shea Lily addressed the kinds of things that we were talking about in a very productive and open way. So I appreciate this final plan, and I would thank Commissioner Lopez as well for offering his thoughts.
Alex, do you want to say something?
I just want to say that this plan, the plan that was initially submitted, we had some concerns about the access to the ramp, but the applicant was very receptive to that feedback and changed the designs in a way that, as Commissioner Parlay said, addresses those concerns.
Okay, great. Look, it's good. I go there. It's nice. I'm very excited. Do you want to say anything, Llama, about anything? Oh, we can't hear you. You're unmuted on our side, but I can't hear you. No. Still can't hear you. Okay, well, you know what? It's a great place. Great place for coffee and goodies, and lots of goodies too. Okay, any questions from the commissioners about this? No. Any questions from the public? This is concerning the public space request, little cafe area on I Street. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Nope, going once, twice. Okay, Patrick.
All right, I move that ANC 6E support the public space application for outdoor seating for Shea Lily located on 425 I Street Northwest and communicate that support to, I believe that's DDOT.
Yep. Okay. Do you have a second? Was that you, Alex Lopez? Okay. Any questions about the motion? Okay, no. Okay, I'm going to mute Kevin. Kevin, I'm unmuting you. Where did Denise go? Okay, there she is. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
It's gonna be able to eat there free.
Huh? What?
Am I gonna be able to eat there free?
No, commissioners don't eat free. No free food for commissioners. There you go. All right, thanks for coming. All right, and next we have, oh, very exciting. We have the H Street Bus Priority Project presentation. And Megan, are you among, oh, there you are, Megan, hi. I'm gonna unmute you.
Great.
Okay.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Can you
Good,
hear
and I
me?
have your presentation here. One second.
Great.
Wait a minute. Go ahead and start talking, Megan.
Okay, no problem. And I know you guys have a packed agenda and probably everybody wants to get to bed before midnight. So I will do my best to keep it snappy. I'm available for any follow-up comments or questions afterwards. So I am Megan Carnegie. I am the Bus Priority Program Manager for DDOT. I'm also joined by Spring Worth, and I don't know if Andrew DeFrank is on or not from our community engagement team. But we are here to bring to you a little information about H Street Northwest. We are looking to do a bus priority project along that corridor, and we're kicking it off. And I wanted to kind of share some initial thinking and solicit your feedback and ideas, either now or follow up via phone or email. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide here. So the background on the project, you know, this is really high level. I just wanted to frame the conversation. So equity is really important to the district. Oh, go ahead to the next.
Oh, go down.
slide.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much. And so DDOT has an equity statement that we've developed here through the Move DC update. Move DC is our long range transportation plan. And we are looking to, you know, steer investments in places that help us to, you know, improve equity and accessibility of where residents need to go. And this map just shows you that, you know, if you live in an area of the district with a lighter colored purple, you can get to fewer jobs and destinations within 30 minutes via the bus compared to someone who in an area with a darker colored purple. And I think that doesn't surprise anyone, but those are the kinds of inequities that we're looking to address. If you can go to the next slide, I think I have a little information about, you know, also our mode share goals. You probably are familiar with these, but we are working towards getting to 75% of all commute trips by non-auto modes by 2032. The bus is part of that equation. It's not the only mode, but we really are looking to give people more choices by making the bus faster and more reliable. We're allowing people to depend on it for more and more of the trips they need to make in their day. If you go on to the next slide, please. So our bus priority program, you know, we've really been developing this over the last year or two. You know, we've done a few more projects. You know, when I started at the district in 2015, started the 16th Street bus lanes project, which Spring Worth, who's on the phone, as I mentioned, carried us through into design. And we've done a few projects since then, and we're really looking to kind of improve the speed at which we deliver these projects so we can get to more neighborhoods. And we're improvements across the entire district. We know that even during COVID, although transit ridership has dropped, Metro bus ridership has not dropped nearly as much as Metro rail. So, you know, during normal times, there's a little bit more people riding Metro rail than Metro bus in the district, but during COVID, there's actually been 2 to 3 times as many people riding the bus as Metro rail. So we just know that, you know, folks who are making those essential trips, those essential workers depend on the bus. And we're looking to really make it better for them and better for people who may have a choice as well and maybe consider the bus in the future. If you go to the next slide, network across the district that we've identified jointly with WMATA and the circulator team. These are the places where we're really looking to focus our investments over the years. This network corridor serves over 120 Metro bus and 5 circulator routes for at least a portion of their out. So it may not be that they travel all along those dark blue lines, but they may come on and off of it. And these are the places where we know we have, busy buses in normal times and often stop in traffic. You can see I've highlighted H Street there for kind of context. If you go on to the next slide, we have a toolbox. I have a link at the end of the presentation. You can learn more about our toolbox, which just kind of presents a menu of over 20 different things that we can do to help support faster and more reliable bus service. But it's not one size fits all. It's not like, it's really supposed to be, or where we're really trying to take an approach where we're sensitive to the needs of the given street in the neighborhood, and trying to be flexible in our approach and trying to get results. Next slide. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about H Street, and I realize that we're already eating up a few minutes, so I'm going to go quickly if you go on down. So next slide, please. So we're looking to improve bus speeds and reliability along this corridor, improve access to transit, improve safety. We know that safety is a concern along this area, particularly when you go east of Massachusetts. Also want to make sure we're accounting for curbside access needs, because we know there's a lot of different commercial and residential uses along this corridor as well. Next slide. So we're going to be looking at kind of the existing conditions and the needs. We're going to be identifying, multimodal approach, not just about the bus. What else, is going on along this corridor that we can maybe address as part of this project, shared wins. We're going to use our toolbox to come up with possible solutions, work across our DDOT teams and with our WMATA partners, and make sure we're getting feedback from you all about what the needs are that you are familiar with, to make sure we're accounting for those. And we're looking to make these improvements within the existing curb to curb street width. So not heavy construction. This is coming in. We want to have a quick delivery timeline so we can make improvements in a year or two rather than over several years. If you go to the next slide. So this is our anticipated timeline. You'll notice it's pretty fast. So we're here in the spring talking to you all. We would hope in the summer to have some concept alternatives to bring back to you and to get your feedback on. We are also talking to other stakeholders. There's another ANC corridor and 3 different business improvement districts. We are, would hope that by the fall we can have a recommended concept we're going to be moving forward with and begin that design, and do more engagement about, refining how that looks, do the design over the winter and do a notice of intent. And then we are aiming for construction sometime, I would guess, probably in the summer of 22. So that's a little over a year from now. If you go on to the next slide, this is our project area. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I'll focus on the eastern end. It is a Vision Zero corridor, which means that it's been identified by our Vision Zero team as kind of having a concentration of needs along that area, and that extends further east beyond this particular study area. And it's a through truck and bus route, so we need to make sure that we account for freight needs. If you go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So these are just some, high-level snapshots of what we see with buses. We know that there's a lot of different routes that use this corridor, and during COVID, that ridership, there's still been, compared to other routes across the district, X buses, for example, are still seeing high ridership compared to other routes. The buses tend to be slow during normal times, kind of throughout the day. It's not just a peak issue. There's a lot of loading demand. There's a lot of, there's some bus stops that are fairly close together, ones that are even on the same block. There's double parking, and there's, some tricky turns to get through the kind of 395 Massachusetts H Street intersection. If you go to the next slide, I have a little bit of information about kind of the speeds that we're seeing. So in this 2009, using the X2 as a proxy for kind of the rest of the buses, but you're seeing that kind of between the AM peak and even to the PM peak and evening hours, we're at or below 6 miles per hour. as low as 4 miles per hour on average. So definitely room for improvement. If you go on to the next slide, there's just, we have some pretty granular information from WMATA about exactly where the buses are kind of slowing down for all different times of day. So we'll really dive into the details of that when formulating our recommendations. If you go down, I also wanted to highlight just some of the crashes, the locations where we're seeing concentrations of crashes. North Capitol is definitely an area that I know is of focus, and that's the end of this corridor project, but to the extent that we can make recommendations to address some of the issues there, we will definitely look to do so. We also, if you go on down, we have some varying curb widths along the corridor. The eastern end, we have 64 to 66 feet and about 3 lanes in each direction. If you go down, we'll skip past a couple of slides on the western section. I will put these on our project website and you can check out at your leisure. If you go one more, I do want to pause on this. So you all are probably familiar, but the buses make some interesting turns to get through this intersection. That's something we're going to be looking at, kind of what can we do to better facilitate those turns, reduce delay at the different kind of maneuvers that are happening here. Next slide. So here we go into the eastern section. 3 lanes in each direction that are 10 or 11 feet wide, which is a good place to start from. That's kind of what we need for transit. Our standard is 11 feet for a lane that a bus would use. You go down, though, to the next slide. I know that we don't actually have all these lanes in operation right now. For example, I know we have outside the Walmart the kind of extended sidewalk area in the pickup drop-off zone. And we know that is kind of an ongoing need for that space. If you go down one more slide, next steps, we're looking for ideas, input, feedback by the end of the month. Things that maybe, you've noticed that are working well, things that feel unsafe, things that, specific knowledge about how something works that is really granular that we should know about. We're all ears, and we would like to come back to you. I'll coordinate on the timing for that, but sometime this summer to share some ideas that we come up with. If you go to the next slide, I have information about how to get in touch with us. All right, skip that one. Excuse me. So here's our phone number. That's kind of like a voicemail box for our team. So feel free to just leave a message and we'll call you back, or just leave a message with a comment. Here's my email, and then Spring's email. Spring is going to be taking on more of a leadership role with this project over the coming weeks. So definitely we'll be looping her in, and I just wanted to give you her email now. And then here's our general bus priority website where you can learn about more projects that we're doing in the toolbox. And then the specific page for this website. And I'll pause there, and thanks for your time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Megan. We appreciate that. Commissioners, do you have any questions about this? Anyone? Alex?
Yeah, I have a question. You identified that 8th Street between Massachusetts and North Carolina is a Vision Zero priority corridor. How will Vision Zero goals be integrated into the 8th Street bus priority project?
Yeah, good question. And those corridors they're identified on our Move DC website. If you've visited that, there's a bunch of different maps that kind of show different transportation needs. And I'm happy to follow up with the link. And so we're working closely with the Vision Zero team. So they are kind of part of our interagency group that's kind of thinking through the different needs on this corridor. Basically, we'll be looking at, some of the safety data and how those intersections are working, and, any recommendations that their team may have, we'll try to bundle together as part of this bus priority project so that, it's not just about transit on this corridor, it's about making it safer for all modes. And so to the extent we can make improvements that, hit that safety need, even if they don't help make the bus faster, we're certainly looking to do so. Similarly, we try to work together like with the bike team, if it's a bike priority corridor, to try to get kind of shared wins there too. So I think hopefully the next meeting, when I share some of those concepts, I'll be able to point out like what pieces of the recommendations are kind of specifically targeting the safety need there along the corridor. We also have a couple intersections that WMATA brought forward to DDOT as having kind of particular safety needs from a bus operations perspective. So we're kind of working with them on, drilling down into exactly what's kind of the cause of some of those issues and how we can try to, address that with this project as well.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad to hear that the Vision Zero team is going to be involved in the project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Michael Eichler? No? Okay. All right, I'm gonna open up to the community. Any questions about this? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Well, Megan is here. Thank you, Megan, so much. No? Okay. Thanks,
Great,
Megan.
thank you. My pleasure. We'll be posting some posters at the bus stops in the coming weeks to also just build awareness and try to get feedback from riders and folks who may not be at this meeting. So if you see a poster, that's us, and appreciate any feedback in the future. So thanks again for your time.
All right, thank you for zooming in. Okay, we have the DC Office of Human Rights is my contact here. Press *9. I saw you earlier. There you are. And I have your, how are you?
Good, how are you? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, okay, let me bring up your presentation, okay? So hang tight, go ahead and start.
Sure. So good afternoon, ANC 6E. My name is Asian Brown. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist with the DC Office of Human Rights. Thank you for having me tonight to tell you about the wonderful protections that DC has to offer both residents and visitors to the district. So as you can kind of surmise from our agency title, we are the enforcement agency for anti-discrimination laws in the district. So we, are the ones that people come to when they feel like they've been discriminated in the areas of housing, employment, public accommodations, and educational institutions. And you can go to the next slide. And our mission is to eradicate discrimination, increase equal opportunity, and then protect civil rights through our enforcement, which is the main part of what our job does. And again, as I said, we cover employment, housing, public accommodations, and educational institutions. And we enforce the DC Human Rights Act of 1977, so very early in the sort of the new DC, where there was a newly formed council, DC Council. They quickly enacted a set of human rights or civil rights laws that protected a wide number of vulnerable populations. And so at the time in 1977, there were 15 protected traits. And now we have expanded that to 21. You can go to the next slide. And we have jurisdiction over pretty much any entity that operates in DC. So that includes the DC government. We get complaints from employees of district government, and also for violations as a public accommodation entity. Private sector. This includes nonprofits. This includes corporations, contractors. Pretty much again, anybody that operates in DC has to follow sort of these local civil rights laws that we enforce. However, it does exclude the federal government. They have their own EOC and own bodies that kind of handle cases of discrimination, like HUD as well. And also, we do not take complaints against Metro or WMATA. They have their own sort of investigation arm as well. And then also DC courts. So I'm not going to go through all the laws. We enforce several different laws on the local side, and our protections are much broader than the federal protections that the federal government offers. So DC is very, very, very progressive in terms of our protections for, again, vulnerable populations. And obviously, I don't have to really go into why these laws need to exist, because of our issues as a country, and we're still grappling with a lot of those issues, those civil rights issues today. Discrimination unfortunately still happens. It just happens very differently, and that's the reason why these, we're constantly having to adjust, and these new laws are being enacted. For example, we just added the 21st protected trait, which is employment protections for victims or family members of victims of domestic violence, sexual offenses, or stalking. So, employers can no longer just fire an employee that is experiencing, some form of stalking or domestic violence from a significant other, where that was the case in previous times when, if there was an issue with somebody coming on the job or making threats to the employee or the survivor, they could just dismiss that person. That's no longer the case. You can go to the next slide. And then there are several federal laws, the main one being the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and also the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which is the Fair Housing Act. But again, our DC laws are very much more extensive than those, the federal protections. Next slide. As I said, we have 21 protected traits. And afterwards I can drop in the link a detailed description of all 21 of those traits on our website. So if you have questions about exactly what genetic information is, you can answer that there. But again, we are very, very progressive in terms of the different protections that we have for people in the district. I want to point out just a few of those, such as personal appearance. So that can be that I often try to point out that can include people that may be perceived as transient. So if a business is discriminating against folks that may look as if they're transient, that is against the law. That's against the DC Human Rights Act. And then source of income is also a big one, where if housing providers are, if somebody is receiving a housing subsidy, we often see this in housing. If someone is receiving a housing subsidy, housing providers cannot turn that person away simply because their source of income, because they receive that subsidy. And so, that is one of our big pushes, is to inform people that if you do have a housing voucher, you cannot be discriminated. Housing providers by law are now allowed to make housing unavailable or, discriminate based on that source of income. You can go to the next slide. So basically, really quickly, the process, I will say, I like to, as you say, keep it 100, and be honest with you all in the community, that our process can take a while to get resolved. Depending on the type of case, it's also, very much case by case basis, but essentially, it is almost like a court process. So it does take some time to investigate, and does take some time to resolve. So I like to just start there. But we do also rely on the public to sort of hold these entities accountable. And so we very much rely on people referring us, people to our office so that we can investigate. So essentially the enforcement process, we have an intake, we make sure we have jurisdiction, we make sure that the incident occurred in DC, and it happened within 365 days. So essentially people have a year to file a complaint from the date of the incident. And then there's a mandatory mediation. The other option for people, if they feel like they've been discriminated against, they can go to the court, directly to the courts, and file a court case. But there is no mandatory mediation in that process, and all your information is automatically public. And our process is totally confidential. There is no information that's released to the public unless they do a referral request, and then very rarely do we make information available to them unless they are a party to the case. So after that mediation, which 50% of our cases actually settle in mediation in some form, if there is no resolution, it goes on to an investigative stage, where investigators are looking into some of the facts of the case. They're interviewing witnesses, the respondent, and just trying to compile information about if discrimination could have occurred. Then there's a legal review. There's also a conciliation after our determination. So if we find probable cause in the case, there's essentially a second mediation where now that they have that information that we found that there was cause for discrimination, and it oftentimes encourages that other respondent to settle at that point. And then if there's no resolution there, it goes on to the Commission on Human Rights, and we have administrative law judges. They're a separate entity, independent from the Office of Human Rights, and they are the ones that pretty much adjudicate these cases when there is no resolution. And so we also have special equity programs, and I'll touch on those in some other slides, but they include the Language Access Program, the Youth Bullying Prevention Program, Street Harassment Prevention, tip wage workers, and the Fair Chance Initiatives, which because we essentially enforce ban the box laws. So language access was one of OHR's first equity programs. Essentially, the language access program ensures that people that do not have or have limited English or no English proficiency are able to access government services in their native language. The act was passed in 2004, and so it's been over 15 years of this act being in existence. And essentially, we hold our sister agencies accountable when they're interacting with people that, again, have limited English proficiency, and making sure that they're adequately using the language line, which all agencies have access to, or they're using the appropriate translator or translation service for documents. And this is key for key services like the DMV, like social services, like DHS, for example. So like those that are receiving subsidies or some kind of social subsistence program, these are essential functions, and they need to be able to communicate in their own language. And so it's a vital program that, again, gives services to a large majority of people in the city. We also have awareness campaigns. So we have done campaigns in the past about, that highlight transgender folks as well as women in the workplace. Just so, again, we're trying to raise awareness around, some of these prevalent issues where discrimination is sort of subtle or maybe sort of fly under the radar, but, it's still persistent. And we want to call that out and sort of change behaviors and attitudes around these vulnerable populations. Next slide. And then we also release publications, highlighting some of the work that we do, some of the inequalities that do exist, unfortunately. For example, we've done a guide on accessibility for business owners, so that they kind of know and are aware of the laws that exist to make their establishments more friendly to all people. And so we try to have more proactive sort of approaches to the community and interact with businesses directly, as well as the public, so that everyone is informed. Because again, ultimately the goal is to reduce the instances of discrimination, instead of like enforcing all the time and penalizing. So that's just one step that we take to do that. And yeah, at the end of the day, our mantra is sort of increase understanding, reduce prejudice, and indiscrimination. And that's kind of what our office is all in the sort of the business of doing. And that happens again through our enforcement, but also again through our outreach efforts and sort of awareness campaigns that we do. I think that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, you feel free to ask. And again, we don't have a chat function, but
no one's allowed to chat. Chat in here.
No chatting.
So any questions from the commissioners?
My email is just my first name, my first name, ajan.brown@dc.gov. So if you have any questions that you want to follow up with me, please feel free to reach out. I'm always accessible.
Yep. Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Any questions from the community? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Nope. I want to thank you for emailing me or emailing. I think you emailed all of us. So but thank you. Good presentation.
Thank
okay.
You. Appreciate it.
You're always welcome to come back.
All right. Thank you. Have a good evening. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, now we have Alex Lopez, Transportation Committee, and I have the, I can do the diagram for the New York Avenue, Alex.
Okay. Yeah, so the first item that the Transportation Committee reviewed was a notice of intent, NOI, that DDOT issued to install a brick median on the unit block of New York Avenue Northwest. So that's between North Capitol and First Street Northwest. Chair Nigro is bringing it up here. Okay, so this first page shows, this is the intersection of North Capitol on the north-south and New York Avenue on the kind of the horizontal. Currently there is no raised median on this road, and as a result, you know, anybody who's traveled on New York Avenue between North Capitol and I-395 knows that this is a particularly congested corridor, and cars, when they hit traffic on this block, they often make mid-block U-turns because they just want to they want to get out of there, and those U-turns are dangerous. So that's one of the things that this median is meant to prevent. Another is left turns from N Street, or left turns to or from N Street, which is right turn only. And another benefit for this block is that this is a long block, and there are a lot of pedestrians that actually cross the street mid-block. And so an added benefit would be to create a pedestrian refuge island in the center of the street that would, you know, potentially provide some protection for you know, pedestrians who are crossing outside of the marked crosswalks. Rochelle, can you please go to the next page?
Is there a next page? Oh, here it is, okay.
Yeah, and so this one, this page I want to spend just a little bit of time on. At our last ANC meeting, when we were discussing this project, a resident expressed concern about traffic safety at First Street and New York Avenue, which is what this diagram represents. The specific concern is that the cars turning left from First Street, cars coming southbound on First Street turning left onto New York Avenue eastbound will oftentimes hit the median that's kind of extended through the crosswalk, either because usually because they're traveling at a high rate of speed, because this is a dangerous intersection and they just don't see the median. So the DDOT NOI actually proposes that the median be tapered back from the intersection. I can't really see here, but I think it's like 12 or 16 feet. And we, through discussions with Commissioner Blackson and residents who live at that corner, we decided that the median is, even though the median drivers are hitting the median is still important to have at this intersection, because it does force drivers to take that wider turn, not cut the corner through the crosswalk, and thereby take the turn more slowly. And secondly, the median that the crosswalk runs through provides an opportunity for pedestrians that may not fully cross the street to in a given light signal to stop and have a protected pedestrian refuge island in the center of the crosswalk. And so for those reasons, the Commissioner Blackson and I, as well as the TAC, recommend that the ANC should support this NOI and communicate that to DDOT, but that we should also make the recommendation that at this intersection of First Street and New York Avenue, that the median continue to be extended through the crosswalk to provide that added protection, but that additional interventions are needed to improve the visibility of that median for drivers who are coming down through that intersection. And the other thing we discussed was that because this intersection is so dangerous and there's such frequent crashes here, Commissioner Blackson is working with residents and they have submitted a traffic safety assessment request for DDOT to take a look at this intersection and hopefully implement some measures to further calm traffic so that people aren't driving so quickly through the intersection that they do hit this curb median or the center median. Commissioner Blackson, I don't know, are you on the line? Do you want to?
Denise, you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm on the line.
I just wanted to invite you if you had anything additional you'd like to say about this project.
No, I don't. I don't have anything additional. You said it. You shared, our concerns very well.
Okay. Any other questions from the ANC? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, let me ask, any questions from the community about this? Stalling a medium on New York Avenue. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature if you're on video. Okay, no questions. Okay, Alex.
Okay, so I'm going to read the resolution, and I'll send this to Karen afterwards anyway. But I move that ANC 6E support that the DDOT notice of intent to install a median on the unit block of New York Avenue Northwest with the following recommended improvements. 1, the plan should be modified to extend the median through the crosswalk on the east leg of the intersection of First Street and New York Avenue Northwest to create a pedestrian refuge island and prevent turning drivers from cutting the corner through the crosswalk. 2, the end of the median on the east leg of the intersection of First Street and New York Avenue Northwest should be clearly demarcated to increase visibility for drivers making a left turn from First Street onto New York Avenue. 3, and this is something that I actually didn't reference previously, but 3, DDOT should coordinate with the Fire and Emergency Medical, FEMS, Fire and Emergency Medical, what's the S stand for?
EMS.
Yeah, FEMS, to ensure that the median design does not interfere with emergency vehicle response. And finally, that DDOT should also pursue traffic calming and sidewalk improvements at the high crash intersections, bookending the project at New York Avenue and First Street Northwest and New York Avenue and North Capitol Street.
Great, sounds good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Michael seconds, all in favor. Wait, where's everyone? Denise, I'm unmuting you. Where's Kevin? There we go. Okay,
I'm
great.
here.
Okay. All right. Okay, Michael second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Frank? Frank? All right, we don't have a vote from Frank. All right, let's move on. Okay, we have the left, we have this, oh, this is a big deal, this left turn on southbound 7th.
Yeah, so the second item, the second notice of intent that the TAC reviewed is in 6005, Commissioner Parlay's district. This is a proposal that would restrict left turns from 7th Street southbound onto K Street eastbound. And the NOI would also erect flex posts in the center median of 7th Street that would further prevent any vehicles from attempting to turn left from 7th Street onto K Street or turn left from K Street onto 7th Street, which is a maneuver that's already prohibited by signs, but is something that drivers frequently do. This is a high crash. There are a lot of pedestrians, a lot of this is a huge intersection, a lot of drivers. Just this morning, there was a report of a crash where a vehicle, I think, wound up on the corner, I think on Mount Vernon Square. So this type of intervention, although probably insufficient to completely solve the safety issues around Mount Vernon Square, is a good step in the right direction. And as such, the TAC recommended that the ANC support.
Yeah, I'll make a few comments here as well. In my opinion, this is like it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, the entire area around Mount Vernon Square, coming from practically any direction, it can be a real traffic cluster. And I mean, even, you know, this NOI doesn't address it, but because this talks about the southbound, but you know, K going on to 7th also is a really tough turn to be making as a driver. And so, you know, to me, this is a common sense one. This is a high crash area, and I think the ANC should support this NOI.
This intersection is a hot mess. So anything that can be done to improve this would be great. I think they've been talking about this back and forth for years and nothing's happened. So anything at this point. Good.
ANC passed a resolution last year calling on DDOT to look at Mount Vernon Square holistically and do things to further pedestrianize it. We recommended, or the ANC at that point recommended signalizing this intersection. So there's more that can be done, but yeah, this is definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners?
Alex, if you have that handy, that old resolution you just referenced, I'd be interested in just reading it over.
Definitely, I'll send it to you.
Okay, any questions from the community? Press *9 or raise your hand. Somebody had their hand raised. Christina, did you have a question? Nope. Okay. Oh, you do have a question. There you are. Okay, hold on. You've moved your background. Okay, go ahead. Christina.
Safety improvements we can advance around that square.
Okay, great. Okay, Alex, go ahead.
Okay, I'll actually defer to Commissioner Parley if he.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Patrick, I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, no worries. I move that ANC 6E support the DDOT notice of intent to prohibit left turns from southbound 7th Street Northwest onto eastbound K Street Northwest, and communicate that support to DDOT.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Alex seconds. Any questions about the motion? Nope. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Karen, do not record a vote for Frank. Okay, great. Motion is fantastic. Great. Looking forward to it. Hope it happens. All right, then we have one more, Alex Lopez, the Vision Zero.
Yeah, thank you. So in 2020, the DC Council passed the Vision Zero Enhancement Omnibus Act of 2020. And this act does, it commits DDOT to implementing a number of improvements to its processes that will make our streets safer. But unfortunately, the vast majority of the requirements in this act are unfunded. So just to name a couple of the unfunded improvements that this act creates, the act would accelerate the deployment of sidewalks, protected bike lanes, and transit priority lanes, like the H Street bus lane that DDOT presented on today. It would require DDOT and private developers to incorporate safe and accessible facilities for pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit riders whenever a capital improvement or major street repair is undertaken. It would prohibit dangerous right turns on red at intersections within 400 feet of playgrounds, schools, recreation centers, libraries, metro stations, or at an intersection with a bike lane running through it. It would reduce the default speed limit to 20 miles per hour on local and neighborhood streets. It would greatly expand DDOT's use of automated traffic enforcement, technologies such as speed cameras, red light cameras, and stop sign cameras, and it would require new developments, private development, to include planned space for freight and passenger loading and unloading, dedicated space for loading and unloading to eliminate the need to double park on the street or in a curbside bike lane. This act is incredibly important and transformative for improving transportation safety in the district. Tragically, in 2006, sorry, what year are we? 2021. At the time that they wrote this resolution, there had been 15 traffic fatalities. I think in the week and a half since I wrote the resolution, there was at least one other traffic fatality. And it's really long overdue for the mayor and for DDOT as an agency to take real and decisive action to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. And the other thing I want to mention is that traffic violence happens all over the district. But it has been concentrated in Black and brown communities and communities east of the river. So that's something that I want to acknowledge in this resolution. And another thing I want to acknowledge in this resolution is that this ANC, we actually had a person on a bicycle, Jim Pargles, who was struck and killed on Massachusetts Avenue, right on the border of our ANC a couple weeks ago, in what was, probably a preventable accident or preventable crash. And when the bicycle advocates and Safe Street advocates put up a ghost bike at the intersection, it was not only to memorialize him, but also to to call on our elected leaders, call on our agencies to take decisive action to make sure that traffic violence ends. And so with that, I compose this resolution to council and to the mayor to request that they fully fund the Vision Zero Act in the FY22 budget.
Okay. And do we have any questions from the commissioners about this? This is very important, and we, as Alex just mentioned, about the just horrible with the bike, I don't want to call it an accident. I mean, he was killed. It's horrible on Massachusetts Avenue. So any questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the community? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Christy, do you have a question? Or you just going thumbs up? You're just going, okay. Thumbs up.
Just the thumbs up.
Thumbs up all the way, folks. Okay, Alex, you want to go ahead and make a motion?
Yeah, so I want to make a motion that ANC 6E calls on the mayor and the council to include full funding for the implementation of the Vision Zero Act in the fiscal year 2022 budget, and that further ANC 6E commits to redouble its efforts to improve street safety in our neighborhood and to hold DDOT accountable for the full and complete implementation of the Vision Zero Act, because no life lost to traffic violence is acceptable.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any questions about the motion? No. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Frank?
Aye.
Kevin? Yep, Kevin?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Alex Lopez, for your hard work. Okay, and now we have, okay, approval of the minutes. I think Patrick and Alex gave some corrections to Karen. Any other questions from the commissioners about the minutes from April 6th? Okay. Do I have a motion for the minutes?
So move.
Okay, do I have any questions
I'll
about?
second it.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Denise, where are you there? Okay, great. All right. Super motion passes. Okay, Frank, you're on.
All right, earlier tonight, I sent all commissioners a copy of the bank statement for April. We also have the monthly treasury report. We started with $43,260.13. The closing balance was $42,835.17. The change was $424.96. Checks that cleared the account was the check to Karen for $250, Michelle Nigro for $68.89 for Zoom meetings. We also gave Michelle reimbursed her $55.97 for meeting flyers, and yours truly for the USPS PO box. So you all have a copy of the said treasury report. I move that we accept it as noted, provided I can get a second.
Frank, from this ask you, I forgot to ask her, did the grant checks get cashed?
Cleared. They
Yep,
cleared.
oh, I
Yep,
thought,
they
okay,
cleared.
yep.
Yep. Cleared on
Great.
April 5th and
Yep.
April 13th.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The motion's still on the floor.
Any
second
questions
it.
about the motion? Oh, Michael seconds. Any questions about the motion?
Mm.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Kevin,
Aye.
aye. Denise says, okay, great.
All right. Also, since we are now aware that the check that we sent Patrick did not get to him, because I remember mailing that letter off over a month ago. I move that ANC 60 support the cancellation. We'll put a stop payment on that check and reissue a new check, which may need to be hand delivered to
Hand
Patrick
delivered.
once that check is signed. Provided I can get a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin, great. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Is that it, Frank?
All right, expenses. I move the ANC 60 reimburse for Shell Nigro for $28.78, which is to cover the cost of flyers in her SMD. Provided I get a second.
Second.
Also, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Also,
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
I also move to support the reimbursement of $68.89 to Rochelle for the cost of our Zoom meetings for this month. Provided I can get a second.
Second.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Motion passes.
I move the ANC 60 support the reimbursement of expenses to Michael Eichler for the cost of the meeting to his SMD, the amount of $72.06. Provided I can get a second.
Second.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. And finally, I move to reimburse Michael Eichler for his expenses of $46.64, which was for
Business cards.
yes, thank you, business cards. Some of the print looks faded. I had to reprint your expense. So $46.64 was the reimbursement of business cards. Provided we can get a second. Thank you, Mike.
Your second. Denise,
All in favor?
seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. Are we done?
I think we are done.
Oh, wait, did we do Karen?
Oh, I think, didn't Alex have something about the minutes for expenses for previous meetings?
I did, but are we done with the expenses for
Did we
this
do
month?
Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Karen? Wait, I'm gonna meet Karen. Karen? Go ahead, Karen.
Yes, I believe I did submit an invoice for this meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I had everything lined up.
Karen's most
I moved-
important.
Yes, most important. My bad, as they say, Karen. I moved the ANC support for the payment of $250 to Karen Yaley for the maintenance of our minutes and our website, provided I can get a second.
Second.
Patrick seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, motion passes.
Aye.
All right, Kevin. Alex, what did you want to say about the?
Yeah, I just briefly, I want to make a correction to.
I'm gonna have to call you back.
Sorry, I want to make a correction to minutes from the October 6th, 2020 meeting and March 2nd, 2021 meeting. These are related to expenses that were approved at those meetings, but did not make it into the minutes. So there are three expenses, two from the October 6th, 2020 meeting. One of which is for Karen in the amount of $250, one of which for Rochelle for Zoom in the amount of $68.89, and from the March 2nd meeting to Rochelle in the amount of $28.78 for agendas. So I just want to, I want to make a motion that these three items be inserted into the relevant minutes from those meetings so that we have an accurate record of ANC expenses.
Great.
I'll second it.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Denise, all right,
Aye.
great. Thank you, Alex. Okay, are we done with the all money stuff?
I believe so.
Okay, great. All right, the announcements. Anyone have any announcements, commissioners? Okay, great. Any announcements from the public?
From the MAGLA, I just want to say.
You gotta be kidding.
Wait a minute, Kevin. So what are you saying, Patrick?
I just want to, for anyone who's still on the line, we're going to, originally on the agenda was a vote for maglev. For this meeting, we're going to convene a special ANC meeting to vote on a resolution regarding that project. More details to come. I don't think we've actually finalized that date formally, but we'll probably send some stuff around about it.
Yep, we'll do a notice, an official notice like we have to do and all that. Yep, very exciting. Any announcements? Michael? No, okay. Any announcements from the community? Okay. All right, gang, this was good. I thought it was a good meeting. Okay. So our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, June 1st. And I move that we adjourn this meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Denise seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for their patience.
Michelle,
Great
thank you, everyone.
meeting. Lots done.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.